Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm kidding. Geeky Geezers, just regular old Geeky Geezers. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Giggity.
And this is a special guest. Can I use your real name?
Use my YouTube name.
Okay. Well, Birdman. Birdman of Soundtracks with Birdman. And we are here.
And speaking of the guest of honor here, you saw his picture in the thumbnail. I put a lot of work into that thumbnail every week, to give everyone a taste of what we're going to be talking about. And I put up, the little picture of, but I did what I always do. I find whatever picture I can find, and then I do a Google image search to see if I can find it in a larger, higher resolution. Yeah. I didn't in this case, But when you do a Google image search, it names it. It tells you what it thinks it's looking at. Want to take a guess at what it thought it was looking at when I was looking at a picture of Soundtracks with Birdman?
No. What?
It said gentleman.
Gentleman.
So you look up Soundtracks with Birdman's picture on Google, it sees it as gentleman.
I would argue Birdman is a gentleman.
I don't think there's an argument to be made there. That's absolutely the case.
He's always very well dressed for his streams. He goes to nice concerts. I would
puts all the rest of our streams to shame, for Pete's sake.
He's very good at getting guests too.
Huh? Was my picture in the thumbnail?
Yes. Yeah. It's like in the upper right hand corner. It's like what do you call it? Because you're going to be reviewing for us, so we don't have to. Yeah, the Multiverse of Madness, and so it was like the poster with your circled picture up in the upper left hand corner.
Okay, so and I will be firing off some questions at you.
Oh wow, I am on a Google search. Wow.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
So, Troy, did you say you had a story you wanted to tell? Or
that was the story I wanted to tell.
Well, that was
I kind of interrupted and just squished it in there.
Let's say hi to the chat. Oh, by the way, you didn't ask me what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on?
I have a Calypso Taste of the Island Southern Peach Lemonade. It's the last one I got. It says shake well.
Like the last one forever?
No, this is the last one I had. No, I hope. Well, yeah. Well, the way things are going, maybe we'll see how this first show
It said shake well, and now I'm nauseous.
Yeah, I know. Funny. Okay, very funny. Big Al is in.
Yeah.
Have a great stream, Geezers. Thoughts on the new Doctor Who? Well, we didn't have that story prepped for tonight. We have enough to talk about. We'll probably talk about that more next week.
I did see it go by. I didn't believe it because at this point, I've seen too many false flags and too many false starts. All I can say is I really don't care about Doctor Who at this point, but on the upside, as long as they are changing showrunners and they're changing doctors, it's not like it can get any worse. So
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We have Netter's Network with her Hi Sweeties, which may be a problem on certain Netflix sets if you use that word.
We'll talk a little bit about that. No problems here, though.
Yeah, no problems here. Sweeties, honeys, they're perfectly fine because I'm not a weirdo.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't take a compliment. Anyway, so Horizon Talker, hello
the chat. I love that. That's brilliant.
And happy Mother's Day, Netter of Netter's Network. Okay, I just want to say that out loud. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But Zootopia, welcome. Oh, yeah, we had the James Bond rant a little while ago. What'd you say?
Thank you. She said,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
You remember she's on the delay, so
That's right.
You say it, and then she'll thank you 30 seconds later.
Good evening, Geezers, and wow, Birdman, and hello, Netter's Network.
Yeah.
Deleted scenes. Hello, everyone. Listen in while making a run to the store.
Okay.
What's more important, your shopping or us?
Well, he's doing both, so I guess
okay,
it's not a mutually exclusive thing from his perspective.
Listen, you bring us into the store, like all the glass bottles may shatter with our voices.
But he might inadvertently educate a person or two while he's shopping. You never know.
Can always get worse. Troy, don't challenge them. Is Birdman going
He might.
I might.
Hold on to your wallets. He has a way to
someone on the
spend your
stream
money
called
for
me
you.
to buy one already tonight.
Really? Okay. Well, so here we are. Now I'm going to put up a little banner here because Birdman said he could come on and talk about, because he actually saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And spoilers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you have been warned. And I've seen Sonic the Hedgehog too, and I have to warn you, had kind of a dour ending. Dot Robotnik stomps Sonic into putty. All the kids were crying in the theater, and that was it.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm just okay. It's not that funny. No, Sonic wins, saves the day. Were we expecting anything less? That's what we want in a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right?
I would have expected, he changes genders and he goes from being he becomes a turtle or something like that.
No. They're actually. I'll say this: those movies actually, they're fairly sensible and fairly they're fairly accurate to the games. They don't. If you like seeing Jim Carrey doing some of his nutty acting like he used to do in the 90s, you get to see that in this movie. But
probably for the last time.
But we're here to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Did one of those multiverses feature Sonic the Hedgehog, Birdman?
It might have. He passed through a whole bunch there at one point.
Okay. All right. So I'm surprised you went out to see a movie, huh?
I'll go see a movie, but if it's something I want to see, you got this first Marvel movie I've seen since oh my Lord.
Was it Endgame? Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home?
I did, but that's a Sony movie.
Yeah, it is and it isn't.
Technically the same universe, sort
it's
of.
Like shared.
I saw Spider-Man, I saw Morbius, I saw Black Widow, and I was like, that was silly.
Yeah.
I did not see Shang-Chi or the Eternals.
Okay. But this had Benedict Cumberbatch in it. He's a big favorite.
Yeah, I like Doctor Strange. I really liked the first Doctor Strange. I did not really like this one. It had its moments.
Okay.
It had some problems.
That seems to be the consensus I'm hearing. People said it has good moments. Like they were saying Sam Raimi directed it, and like there are certain moments that are really Sam Raimi, but it didn't feel like one of his movies except in parts. He's the guy who did the old Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. I think the script could have used another pass. American Chavez is the problem. I'll come out and say it for the most part. Is the problem, and this is why. The movie opens up with a different Doctor Strange and her in some freaky like LSD land, fighting a giant octopus creature, trying to get the Book of Ashanti, and Doctor Strange can't fend off the octopus creature. And it's trying to kill American Chavez, and I'm like, "You go, octopus creature, you go!" And and this Doctor Strange figures out the only way to save the universe is to kill American Chavez. I'm like, "Cool, I'm down with that. That's cool." And is that rough of me to say? Is that harsh? I mean,
well, I have a question for you. Were you familiar with America Chavez from the comics, or is this the first
I know who she is.
How was she in this movie?
Annoying. Not Jar Jar Binks level annoying. I would rather see an entire trilogy of Jar Jar Binks than see American Chavez.
How much is she in this movie?
Too much.
Is she like the co-star? Is it like is this?
Give me a second. I'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
But so this Doctor Strange decides I have to kill American Chavez in order to save the entire multiverses. But then he gets stabbed by octopus creature and he breaks his concentration. He ends up sending her into a portal into our universe. So Doctor Strange is at a wedding for Christine Palmer, and
that's his old. That's his old girlfriend from the first movie.
Right?
Yeah.
She's getting married now, and stuff's happening in the street. Doctor Strange goes out, and octopus creatures tearing up a bus trying to kill American Chavez, and he saves her, and she immediately just starts sassing him, and I'm just like, I don't like children who sass adults.
I agree.
I was not raised that way, and I have friends who have children that sass me and other adults, and I'm just like, child, you should be smacked once. That's all it takes.
Yep.
You don't talk to adults like that. And she's sassing Wong and sassing Doctor Strange. It's like, really? And I didn't care for the character. And, you know, I think Critical Drinker or someone was saying that the new Marvel movies, you can't have a man defeat a woman when a woman's the bad guy. Like Thor couldn't defeat Hela, which is true. He had to get Surtur to do it.
Right.
And not Captain America, not Winter Soldier. You know, they couldn't defeat the girl. They had to get Sharon Carter to do it. Hawkeye couldn't defeat the bad guys in Hawkeye. Not Hawkeye had to do it. Sure enough, in this movie, okay, Scarlet Witch is bad, and she's gone cray. And
yeah, well, anyone who watched WandaVision knew she'd already gone cray.
This is a question I have for you. Had you seen WandaVision before seeing this? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think seeing WandaVision is a requirement to see this movie?
It's helpful.
Okay.
It's helpful. But Wong and Doctor Strange can barely just hold her off. You know, they're holding her off, but they're not making any headway. And then Doctor Strange, you know, Wong tells Doctor Strange, you have to kill American Chavez so we can stop the Scarlet Witch. And, you know, and I'm remembering in the first Doctor Strange, he got in a fight with Baron Mordo about killing a guy. And he's like, I just killed a guy and I'm a doctor and I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to save lives. And Baron Mordo's like, well, no, you lack a spine. You have to kill people sometimes. And Doctor Strange, like, you just lack imagination. And I'm like, yeah, you're the Sorcerer Supreme. You can do pretty much anything you want. You need imagination to make this gig work, right? So, but this Doctor Strange has decided, like, oh, no. There's another way to do this. American Chavez, you can defeat the Scarlet Witch. You're the only one who can do it. And I'm like, really?
Well, why can America Savage? Okay, yeah, okay.
She can punch interdimensional portals to the multiverse, and
so she gonna send her Wanda into
another multiverse, and I just leave her there. But at the same time, Doctor Strange could have done this. Wong could have done this.
Okay.
I mean, I would think Doctor Strange got in this other dimension where the Book of Ashanti was. So why can't he just move Scarlet Witch over there? You know, I mean, it's like you're Doctor Strange. You're Doctor Strange. You're smart enough to figure something out by using your brain, and that's always been the appeal of Doctor Strange. And Wong doesn't really strike me as the type of character who would say, "Yeah, go ahead and kill the girl." I don't see Wong being that type of character either. Yeah. I didn't think that. But if you had like removed
Wong
her,
is on the side of right, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's the one that told him not to use the spell, right? Yeah.
Right.
In the last Spider movie.
And the Spider-Man. Yeah, he's like, don't cast that spell. He's like, okay. But if you had removed her, you could have had the same movie. If you just opened the movie with Doctor Strange fighting off Octopus Dude, trying to get the Book of Ashanti because Scarlet Witch needs the Book of Ashanti. And that Doctor Strange could have just grabbed it and taken it to our Earth plane of existence and given it to himself and been like, someone is coming after us. I don't know who it is. And then he can find out it's the Scarlet Witch. And she can go cray. And she kills everybody in this movie. She kills female Captain America. She kills not Captain Marvel. She kills Black Bolt. Professor X breaks his neck.
I'm gonna disagree with you. She actually was Captain Marvel. She's the one that should have been Captain Marvel in the first place.
No, this is not Monica Rambeau.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's her mom.
Okay.
The girl from the
They're
James
doing
Bond
that
movie.
because that's the only way they can set her in time before Blonde.
Yeah, and I was excited to see, like Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel, because I grew up with her in the Avengers comic book, and I like that character. But you can do things with characters within 5 or 10 minutes, and you can like that character. I like Black Bolt. He had like 2 lines, He's just like, wow, he looks cool. He seems like a nice dude. He was emoting by just looking with his eyeballs.
Yep.
But this Captain Marvel, I was just like, man, he's just like,
I had heard the Black Bolt. They did use the same actor they used on
Hudson Mount.
on the Inhuman show, who
Yeah.
was in. I guess this is now Captain Pike on the new Star Trek show.
Yep.
But okay, deleted scenes. He said scenes directed by Sam Raimi work like gangbusters. The studio enforced scenes dragged the movie down. Watchable, middle of the road Marvel. Okay, like a rental or a matinee. He's saying.
And if you're right, and if he's right about which scenes were Raimi's and which ones weren't, it sounds like that probably lines up pretty well with what Daniel's saying too.
Yeah,
I think like Scott Derrickson was originally assigned to it, and he was going to bring Nightmare in.
Wow, that would have been good.
Yeah, wouldn't it? And I think some of the elements carried over from Nightmare, because Doctor Strange awakes from a nightmare. That's his first scene.
Sure.
And later in the movie, he meets one of his counterparts who's evil, and he told our good Doctor Strange, he's like, do you ever have a bad dream where you're falling off of a building? And he's like, yeah. Well, that was me pushing you. And I was like, damn.
Wow.
Okay. And there were lots of dreams, and apparently if you dream it, then it's reality. Dreams are just visions of you in another universe.
that's weird.
I thought that's kind of weird.
So that's, you know what that is? Between that, what you just described, and that tentacle eye creature and so forth, those are the Lovecraftian elements that merit the title Multiverse of Madness, like At the Mouth of Madness, or At the Mountains of Madness, excuse me.
Yeah. I was surprised that they actually went there with the Scarlet Witch and made her the villain of the film, because she was not screwing around.
She takes out some major characters, but they're alternative universe versions of those characters, so it makes it even better.
Yeah. Peggy Carter gets like sliced in two with her shield.
Oh,
good.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch catches it, just throws it back. It goes right through, and she just. Bloop,
wait! I thought you liked Peggy.
I like Peggy Carter, but not Captain.
Did you say
Captain
Did you say you saw that little short though on Disney Plus, or the one from Disney Plus? Then weren't they doing like those different stories about where Peggy Carter becomes Captain Britain? Did you say you liked that short though?
It was fine. It was fine for what it was as a what if. I
don't like
care
that as
for
a
it
regular
as the
thing.
idea of an ongoing usurping of Steve Rogers.
I liked America Chavez. A relationship strange was mentor mentee. Was it maybe like Robin and Batman? The thing you think? What do you think?
To me, she was just sassing him all the time.
Okay.
And I realized she had experiences with two other Doctor Stranges, but she was still seeking them out. So she obviously there's a reason why you're seeking this guy out across now the third
Have
multiverse.
a little respect for that.
Yeah. Have a little respect for him, because the last guy was trying to save your life, and the one before that was trying to save your life, and they both essentially died trying to save your life. Now you're on the third one.
Yeah.
So you're doing this for a reason. So don't fast the man.
The real problem is they ran with the Gabby Rivera version of America, which is terrible. She's been interesting in the hands of better writers. Yeah, I heard they say they got some better writers on that character, made her better in the comics. I think, is that what I heard?
Well, she started out better in the comics, and then she got all no decent story, all woke stupidity. And everyone that I've heard that liked this movie is saying, well, she's better than she was in the comics, but they're comparing her to when she was at her worst.
The all new, all different Marvel version.
Exactly.
I take it.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. This character does predate the all different, all Marvel. She just became the poster child for it.
So I have some other questions. We get other cameos.
Yes, we did.
Spoilers. There's a banner up here for a reason.
Yep.
So you already mentioned Black Bolt and Monica Rambeau, and who else was it? The Peggy Carter, Captain Britain, right?
We had Mr. Fantastic in it.
Yep.
Who was played by who?
John Krasinski.
Yes, that's right.
I will say this about the Scarlet Witch, because he says, Wanda, I'm a father. I have children. I understand your pain. And she just looked at him and said, is their mother still alive? And he's like, yes. And she's like, good. They'll have someone to take care of them, and just kills them.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cold.
Yeah.
This seems rather rough for a Disney movie.
That kind of stuff.
Rough for a Disney movie, but she was just.
That kind of stuff really strips away any defense that you can make for her, because any rational person would say, if someone did that to Vision, how would you feel? And now you've just done that to someone else. Screw you. And
there was no Vision in this movie. I kept wondering, where's Vision? Because
at the end of WandaVision, he disintegrated, right? The white Vision is still out there.
Yeah, and
there's no reason to bring him.
So where is he?
Well, that may come up in the future.
And then in the multiverses, you had other versions of Wanda, and she had the twins, and they were real in those other universes.
Vision. Yeah,
but there's no Vision. And I'm like, are you a single mom? Yeah. How do you have the same kids if you don't have Vision?
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the writers and producers of the show had no Vision.
Yeah.
Well,
I would have liked to have seen Vision. Like, even if Vision had come in at the end of the movie, and Scarlet Witch could be ready to kill everybody, just everybody. I don't care. And if Vision had come in and been like, Wanda, what are you doing? And she just would have broken down and lost it, and they would have gone off somewhere else. I'm like, that's cool. But Doctor Strange told American Chavez to kick her ass, and she punches her a couple times, and then she realizes, oh, I can't defeat you, but I'm going to show you a vision of your kids in another universe. And the kids were scared of her, and that just snapped her out of it and brought her back to oh, I've done some bad things.
Okay.
After you've killed all these people, now you realize you've done some bad things? I mean, she killed a lot. She pretty much wiped out all of Kamar-Taj.
It also sounds like they try to give her cover by saying, well, she was corrupted by the Darkhold.
She was.
And she has a moment of clarity and redemption or something like that.
Well, so she got a hold of the Darkhold.
Oh yeah, she did in WandaVision. You saw her at the very end of it.
They had the Darkhold on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now I don't know if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon anymore in MCU or not.
So,
but
I can
it was interesting that anybody who touched the Darkhold became messed up. They basically became kind of evil. It was a bad book.
So here's the thing: you'll notice that the Darkhold looks different in WandaVision than it does in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's in fact, it's not even a supposition. It's been established. The writer for WandaVision didn't actually know they'd used the Darkhold in the other, and only retrospectively said, yeah, well, we just have to assume it's the same book. And it's not canon breaking. It does work. And it's the kind of thing that, good writers going forward can smooth those things over. Clearly it is the same Darkhold, and it does seem to work the same way. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he apparently destroyed all copies of the Darkhold at the end of the movie.
I guess the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon. I guess that the Netflix Marvel series are no longer canon either. I noticed that all those series had to bend over backwards to reference the movies, but the movies never referenced them. So I don't know.
You know what? After Endgame, I was going to say after Endgame, there is almost no way to say what is and is not canon anymore.
You know what's funny though? They could have just been another multiverse, right?
At this point, you're right. That's kind of my point, really.
How many multiverses are there? Now I know the big one, the big guest. Do we want to say it out loud? Another major spoiler. Please leave now. We're going to mention was a certain knighted actor from England returning for reprising a role.
Oh, right. Patrick Stewart.
Professor Xavier.
Professor Xavier.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart was Professor X.
And that was kind of neat because there was almost a separate team that was made up of him and Mr. Fantastic. And I thought that was actually interesting from what I'd heard. That was their They're their own team in another universe or
the
something.
Illuminati, yes.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Patrick Stewart. He looks frail.
Yeah.
You think? I've been watching.
I'm not trying to talk smack about the man. He looks very frail in the movie, and I'm guessing his parts were filmed like a year or so ago. I'm just guessing.
Yeah,
but
he looked Picard.
He looked very frail, and I've heard talk they're going to bring him back for some other movies, but I don't see how.
I think it's time to move to those younger actors that played him in the other movies.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's
really Fassbender was great as Magneto in those.
Yeah. You know, it's time. But you know, an argument about the same thing about Kaczynski is his name?
Krasinski.
He I guess he's the right age now, but if they don't start moving with him on Fantastic Four, you know, these actors will age out too. So you got younger and younger actors.
We had heard a rumor a while back that it was going to be Krasinski, that people wanted Krasinski and Emily Blunt as, because they're a husband and wife in real life, and she would play an Invisible Woman. What I'm wondering, what I was wondering about this is that he shows up as Mr. Jackson in this movie. Do you think that those rumors were put out on Disney on purpose to prep people for him in this movie, or was it they heard people wanting him in the role and they added the scene on later on and tacked it on with? I don't know if maybe they heard the rumors or the demand that people want him, so let's feel it out and throw him up in this multiverse movie. If people hate him in the role, we don't have to use him.
I don't think they're that clever, and there's no indication that they've done that with anyone else. I think what's more likely is it was either just fan speculation, or it was Kaczynski himself who was stumping for the role, who thought it was a great idea. Whatever started it, the fans ran with it, and the folks over at Disney got wind of it and were like, it's not a bad idea. Would you be interested? And he said yes, and they got him. And
Emily Blunt has a good relationship with Disney too, so it would make sense.
It really does look like it. I mean, if it doesn't happen now, it's a huge missed opportunity, and it's probably the best way they could get fan buy-in after the horrible last Fantastic Four film and the mediocre previous outings.
The prevailing theory is that they cast Krasinski so they could then diversify the Fantastic Four in the mainline films. I don't know if there's anything beyond trends to support that, though. I don't know either. You mean like have them there to satisfy the people demand, and then they do something else in the mainline films? I mean, I have a question. When they were looking at alternate people, did you have different actors? I'd heard rumor that Iron Man was going to show up, but it was going to be Tom Cruise as Tony Stark under the helmet. Did that happen? Did that happen? No. Okay, that might have been interesting.
There were Ultron robots, though.
There were Ultron robots,
and in that universe that he was in, they had also fought and defeated Thanos in that universe, and a lot of people had died. And in that universe, it's believed that Doctor Strange died, killing Thanos. But what happened is the Illuminati killed Doctor Strange after Doctor Strange killed Thanos, because that Doctor Strange had used the Darkhold to defeat Thanos. But if you got used the Darkhold to defeat Thanos, that's fine, as long as it's not turning you evil. And in the film, it showed a flashback of Black Bolt killing him, and he wasn't evil. He just used the Darkhold to kill Thanos, because that was the option, the only way to do it. And our Doctor Strange uses the Darkhold to fight off Scarlet Witch at the end of the movie, and he comes back to our plane of existence, because it's said in the movie a couple of times, you can't take Doctor Strange from this universe and put him in that universe without the universes collapsing upon themselves. You have to stay in your own universe, or it causes chaos and things just.
So how does America Chavez stay in our universe?
I don't know. She's magic.
Yeah, that's exactly. This is the problem that I see. The consistency just isn't there. They screwed it up with Endgame too. They set up their rules for time travel, and then they broke them all. And it sounds like they're doing the same thing with the multiverse here. But
and like Doctor Strange in every universe, like he loved Christine Palmer, and I'm like, cool, I'm on board with that. But in every universe,
McAdams,
everyone said that he was dangerous. He was arrogant. He didn't know what he was doing. And he always thought he had the best idea to solve things. And by God, he was going to do it the Doctor Strange way. I had some issues with that because if you go back to the first movie, yes, Doctor Strange was arrogant as a surgeon. Definitely. He was a little reckless. But he had fights with Baron Murdo about, I don't want to kill people. Killing is wrong. You just got to think of a better way to solve the problem. And I don't see that as overriding arrogance to cause all these problems.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of hinted at in the movie that Doctor Strange made the wrong choice about giving Thanos the Time Stone and, allowing him to win when, he said, I saw 5 million something different versions of the future. And there's only one way that we win this.
Yeah.
So, you got to take him at his word because who else has seen that many different versions of how the future can play out?
Big Al says America Chavez said there were no other versions of herself in any other universe.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so that might skirt the rule then.
What was I going to say, though? Question, does Patrick Stewart's head explode like in Life Force?
Nope.
In this movie?
Nope.
Okay.
Scarlet Witch comes up behind and just cracks his neck.
I don't want to see. Some guy was making a point of view. I don't want to see Professor X die again in a movie. It's like three times already. It's like the Logan clone got him, and then I think
the other
Jean Grey got him in X-Men 3, right?
The other big problem is that what you have here is another circumstance where they've killed off a bunch of Marvel characters, and it means nothing because they're alternate versions or whatever.
But they're still people. That's my problem.
I get that, but I mean, from a narrative standpoint, the characters don't die. They come back, whether it's through timey-wiminess or multi-universe stuff,
but
or you didn't see a body, so they could still bring her back later or whatever.
Can I bring up, remember I was talking the other week about Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, the one where they had Gibbs playing the voice of Superman, but there's an interesting scene, a dilemma in this. The Lex Luthor from the other world where the crime syndicate have taken over, he comes and seeks out the help of Superman and the Justice League to come to his alternate Earth and stop the supervillains running society over there. And they all vote yes to help him except Batman, who says, no, we have to defend our own world, our own dimension. We can't be going off there. So the rest of the Justice League leaves, Batman stays behind. What I thought was interesting, though, what Superman said, listen, there are billions of lives at stake in this other world. We have to go. Superman was treating these aren't just weird alternate versions. These are individual people that we have to go protect, even if it means crossing over this other Earth. And I thought that was an interesting argument he and Batman had. But I'm almost wondering, is there like a casualness to characters getting killed off in this because they're just alternate versions, so they don't matter, or is there actually a gravity when they die? I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it.
It didn't strike me as casual.
Okay, all right, okay. So I don't know. Okay, but like I said, people are mixed on it. I guess
I'm curious to what the second weekend grosses are going to look like because it did really well.
Yeah.
This weekend, it kind of like lost 50% on Saturday, then it lost like 50% on Sunday. So I don't know if that's Mother's Day weekend or if it was people like, yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
See, I was expecting this to do well because it's still riding high off of the Spider-Man No Way Home. Doctor Strange, of course, was rather prevalent in that movie. In fact, there's an interesting part in the movie where I almost thought, is Doctor Strange going to be the adversary in this movie versus Peter Parker? I almost thought that was going to happen in that movie, but yeah, I don't know. So the cameos were interesting though, but it wasn't. Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home?
I did.
Did you think that did a better job of having like the cameos from other older Marvel movies in there, or like other characters?
Yeah, because like, how much time do people have invested in Captain Carter or Black Bolt?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I mean,
well, I do because I watched the shows.
Yeah,
Well,
but you know,
I was the weirdo that
watched.
watched the Agent Carter show and the Inhuman show.
But that was like a 30-minute show that you saw like what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. I mean,
Right.
you had 3 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and you've had
Right.
20 years to watch them.
Right.
You got a lot of time with that character.
Yeah.
You know, he means something to you. That's Tobey. That's a Spider-Man. And then you got 2 movies with Andrew Garfield, which was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, okay, Black Bolt was cool. I'm like, that's cool. He's got the comic costume.
Yeah.
But if you didn't read the comics, you probably don't know this. And Mr. Fantastic looked good, but if you're not a Fantastic Four fan, you probably don't remember the movies.
It is starting to get like Marvel is just, hey, let's just throw in Easter eggs for the fans and do whatever the hell we feel like.
Yeah. I think the characters could have been used better. I think the movie had great potential. I don't think it achieved it. I think it achieved like 65% of what it could have achieved. And I hate saying that because this was like my big movie for this year that I was really excited for. And I left the theater thinking like, feel kind of like I did when I saw The Force Awakens. It's like it had some great parts that I liked, but I feel like something wasn't right. And I think in time, over watching it more, I'll probably like it less.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still buy the Hot Toys octopus creature if it comes out.
Sure.
Sign me up. That thing's awesome.
But it was like I was saying to Boomer back in the green room, you know, I feel like this is especially as I've been seeing the stuff coming out on social media today, especially there are a lot of people sharing that this collage that they've done of Wanda with her imaginary kids.
Yep.
And saying Happy Mother's Day, best mother in the Marvel universe. And I'm like,
ooh.
Yeah, no. Do you guys understand? She's a villain. She's insane. These aren't real kids. She invented them, and she's killing people to continue to live out that fantasy. This isn't good, mother. This is psycho. This is
And,
this is the people that support Amber Heard is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. and I'll say this, like I can kind of identify with her because when I lost Jana, God, you know, if someone had come to me, it's like, if you kill everyone on this block, you can have her back. Let's go. But I always knew it's wrong to feel that way. I mean, like I would have walked away from everything for just one day, one more day with Jana. Anything I'd have to do, I would have gladly have done it. Yeah. But that's not right.
Yep.
And
that's not heroic.
I sympathize with the character, and I understand how she feels. You lose something that you love so much, and you are never the same after losing that. It leaves a hole in you forever. Wow. You just want it back, but you're not going to get it back. Enjoy the memories you have and hold on to them dearly. But going out and killing all these people, no, you can't do that.
You know what? Horizon Talker's right. Best mom is Thor's mom.
Yeah.
I'll say this, the scene we got in Endgame, I mean, I had some problems with Endgame, but I did like the interaction with Thor and his mom, how they got to have that moment, you know. Yeah. I mean, there were some good moments in Endgame and some things I didn't like, but there were some good moments in there, like when Thor met his mom again and she was, you know, acknowledging that he's kind of been through a lot of crap, you know, since like his future self that she hadn't met yet. I mean, and I don't know.
I did get the new Thor trailer on the big screen.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. And it's, you know, like I try not to judge things before they come out, you know, like let me see it. Because I don't feel the right judging something if I haven't watched it or read it or listened to it. I just don't feel right. But it's like, you know, everyone keeps saying, you know, the me, she, you, or whatever they call it. And it's like, well, you know, this or that, you know, but like when I left Doctor Strange, I'm like, you know, people are just kind of right. You know, you kind of, Doctor Strange couldn't be the hero of his own movie. That's kind of like how I was feeling when I left the theater.
So I guess I don't know if America Chavez was in there because they're setting up a Disney Plus series, or if they're planning to have her in other movies, like maybe other Doctor Strange movies as his sidekick. I don't know what the
She's
plan.
training at Comitage at the end of the movie, and she was nice to Doctor Strange at the end of the movie. She's like, she ran up to him and like, I'm learning to make sparkles with the sling ring, and he's like, well, good job, kid. And she's like, I'm glad I found you finally. And I was like, oh,
All
good,
right. So
but
maybe they left it on a positive note then, at least, right? Yeah.
maybe so, but I could like, and they set up the next one. Clea shows up at the end of the movie for the post-credit scene.
Okay.
And she's like, he's like, she said, Stephen Strange, you've created a catastrophe with the multiverse and we need to go fix it. And he's like, cool, let's go. And she slices open a portal to the Dormammu dimension and they hop in it. And I'm like, I'd like to see that movie. But I'm like, is she going to be schooling him for the entire movie? I'm just, I don't want to see that. I'd like to see him with an equal. They can be equals, but you don't need to diss the title character to build up another character.
Well, I don't know. I'm assuming maybe it's part of the reason they're doing it because they expect some of these actors their contracts are going to run out and they got to find replacement heroes. But I don't know. That's speculation on my part. But
why don't we just start all over again? Start with the 60s. Let's do a Fantastic Four in the 60s.
I mentioned that on the stream the other week. I thought, I thought they could have done that. They could have not done Spider-Man. They could have thrown Spider-Man in there, the X-Men. They could have been but I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see what they have planned. But anyway, it's getting later on. We got to get to the news. But any last thoughts on this, Birdman?
The score was okay. I really loved the Michael Giacchino score in the first one. I was sad when he wasn't returning for the sequel. I was excited for Danny Elfman, but I wasn't wowed. Yes, I'll buy it when it comes out for Mondo and LP, and if it comes out on CD, I'll buy that too. But I feel like it could have been a better score. It had some really great parts to the score, but overall, I'd probably give it like 7 or an 8 out of the 10.
Well,
Danny Elfman brought in the X-Men cartoon theme song when Professor X came out, and he brought in some music from WandaVision. I was okay with the WandaVision music coming in, not so much with the X-Men cartoon theme coming in, because then to me that places that Professor X into that cartoon universe. So are we in that universe musically speaking, or are we just using that to just
I heard about that too, and my thought was great. So all the kids that grew up with that X-Men just watched their Professor X get his head snapped.
Yeah, it's like when Danny Elfman did the Justice League movie, and he brought in John Williams' Superman theme, and he brought in his own Batman theme. I'm like, well, his Batman theme doesn't fit this Batman,
right? Exactly.
And John Williams' Superman theme isn't this Superman. So why are you putting those for these characters?
Exactly.
Oh. Well, no, I mean, I think we got to be nitpicky sometimes. But one last comment here. Spider-Man No Way Home had cameos that mattered to the story. This was just shallow fan service. Yeah. Well, that's what I was worried about. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie, but yeah.
I'll say this. I suspect I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Consider me playing Mephisto's advocate here. But I'm going to say that I think that you were right. They didn't need America Chavez, but she was there because they need a hook to introduce her because they want to use her in another movie.
Disney Plus show,
Right. But they're trying to build their synergy like they did in the past. They introduced Professor X and whatnot because they know they need a hook to bring the X-Men in. They introduce Reed because they need to bring the Fantastic Four in. So it was pretty much a no-sum way of introducing these characters and giving you a hint that they're going to be coming in.
And they could have brought in Reed Richards in WandaVision, and they could have brought the X-Men in.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying there aren't better writers could have come up with better ways to do it.
You
I'm
two
just saying.
personalities did better writing than the WandaVision writers. They had a great setup and it had so much promise, and then they just pissed all over themselves in the last 2 episodes. And it's
Well,
like,
I suspect that the original director who did the first Doctor Strange and had his own plans for this was probably had his own ideas that were better too, and then he left the project over creative differences.
Kind of shows you who the success was behind the Marvel universe, because it wasn't Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Like I said, I think there was a great story here. I just don't think it was finished. I think it needed a few more script rewrites.
Right.
And just remove American Chavez, because you've got Wanda and you got Doctor Strange, and I think they both had about equal amounts of screen time. And I love me some Darth Vader, but Darth Vader doesn't need more screen time than Luke Skywalker.
Right. Kind of like the Joker and Batman. You don't need to have the Joker have more screen time than Batman. Yeah. Which is what they actually liked about The Dark Knight. They said, Joker still has a lot of memorable scenes, but he doesn't overshadow Batman. And that's what they thought, at least in that movie. But all right. Well, listen, thank you for stopping by, Birdman.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This Wednesday, we're going to be doing, hopefully, we're hoping for Commando, the great Arnold classic from the 80s.
Well, I'm scheduling it. If Eric Woods can't show up due to upcoming scheduling conflict, you and I will do Commando.
Well, or we could do something else if you still want to postpone. I mean, but yeah, or we could just go ahead without him. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. But cool. But we'll do something Arnold related, so be sure to tune in. All right.
Yes. Tune in.
You're an absolute gentleman, Birdman.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go anyone in my chat who hasn't subscribed, just in the chat. Sorry, not in the chat, in the description. Link to Birdman's channel. Go ahead and click on it. Subscribe. I'm on there. I'm usually on there most every Wednesday. All right.
Yep.
So okay, and so is Birdman. Well, thank you again, Birdman. You have a good rest of your weekend, and
you too.
We'll have you on another time. Great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. And that brings us to kind of a bit of a sad one, but I can't. In good conscience, can't not bring it up and acknowledge.
Yep.
We did comment on it when we knew it was coming,
Yeah.
but I don't think that softens the blow any.
No.
Great comic icon and talent. One of the people that was really responsible for my love of comics has passed, George Perez. He was at the height of comics in the 80s. In my opinion, he brought us some of the best. I know he did a lot of work for Marvel too, but I was more of a DC fan. He was there for the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the great event, the great multiverse event for DC that updated and rebooted the DC universe in a way that I thought was phenomenal. His artwork was just iconic, and he worked on some very iconic characters, including introducing some characters that I loved. He created the character of Jericho for the Teen Titans. So when I met him in Metropolis, Illinois, and people were asking for him to do like a sketch of their favorite characters, they would say, can you do Superman? Can you do Wonder Woman? And he worked on those characters for sure. But I said, I want one that you created. I want Jericho. And he did a sketch of Jericho for me and signed it. And I still have that. And by the way, as a side note, all the people that talk about, ma representation, Jericho, gay character, was created to be, his own character, and they could do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to make some previously existing character gay just to give him representation. That's how you do it, But he passed this week from cancer. We had talked about it several weeks back. A couple months back when
I remember he was trying to schedule like some last minute convention things, right?
He said he was going to do as much as he could, but he had cancer and he decided to stop with the treatments because he said, I don't think they're going to do any good.
Right.
And I want to be able to get the most out of the time I have left.
Wow. Yeah.
And so goodbye, George Perez.
Yeah. And it's sad. He was a name. I mean, it's funny. He did a little bit of everything. Like I remember there's this game I had for the Super Nintendo Blackthorn. He actually did a lot of the art for the cover art for that game
Yeah.
with the square jaws and the way he does the heroes and the long hair and stuff. He was everywhere back in the 90s.
There was his artwork, I would argue, is as iconic as Jack Kirby's.
Yeah.
And there are some similarities, but they are also very, very different. You know, you mentioned the square jaw and stuff, but it's a different kind of square jaw from the kind of thing that Kirby did. They both did very angular type of artwork, but I think that Kirby's was just that Kirby style in that very comic book-esque, kind of unreal pop art kind of way, whereas Perez was also very comic bookish, but also very more of a realist in the way he depicted his characters. So yeah, I don't know. His Wonder Woman was great. When he did Superman, it was faithful to Superman. He didn't overly do it in the George Perez style, as some would argue that Kirby did when he worked on Superman. I don't know. Yeah, he was great. He was wonderfully pleasant and affable in person in a way that few celebrities really are. I think he didn't see himself as a celebrity. He saw himself just in a great opportunity to make a lot of friends when he went to conventions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, and for all the different shares that I've seen on social media, I said comics will never be as great as they were when George Perez was doing them.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't even necessarily a big comic fan, but I knew of all his designs. I mean, they were everywhere. Yeah. He did a lot of X-Men work, right, during that era.
He did. Yeah, again, like I said, I didn't really follow the Marvel stuff because I was not that big of a Marvel fan, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and it's funny. Isn't it weird how you're either both sides know of the other, but you're either usually more prone to Marvel or more prone to DC. I noticed, yeah. And I've run to people. A lot of my friends were more Marvel centered, and I was more of a DC centered kind of guy when I was into things. But I still respected. Good work is good work on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Say that, yeah, and it's. And like I said, we have lost a legend, and he left behind a legacy, and I wish his family well, and hopefully he's in a better place right now. So
yeah,
I mean, what can you do though? But I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. Cancer sucks. I mean, that's
it
not
does.
Good.
It really does.
Anyone who's had family who's had it, understands. Yeah, but again, hopefully he's at peace now. That's all I can say. Yeah. But
we gotta respect the legends of the past, and now I think we're gonna get into some stories about how that seems to be a thing of the past as well. This idea of respecting people.
I'm a little livid, and granted, maybe I haven't heard the other side of this, but it feels
I don't
really
care about the other side anymore.
It feels really shady to me, and I'm just gonna let's lay into it.
Go for it, yeah.
Because I think he's being as detailed and honest as possible, and I have a lot to say. So first off, Frank Langella. Anybody know who he is?
He's Dracula.
He was Dracula in Dracula 79. In fact, Birdman and I did that on his channel.
He was Perry White.
Perry White in Superman Returns.
Yes.
He's been in a lot of stuff. Like last thing I saw him on was actually The Americans, which I mentioned to you before. He was on that. He played the spy's second handler because they did not get along with the first one, and they had the Soviets sent in another handler, and he was played by Frank Langella. And that man, just even at his age, brings a lot to the screen. There's something very. I mean, I don't. Just from the way I've seen him portrayed, he always strikes me as the consummate gentleman on screen. What do you think?
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
He's got that quality of the. I'm just going to say older gentleman.
Yeah. Well, and younger when he was younger, leading man.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
he was man. in the 70s when he did Dracula. He was woohoo. He was the guy every guy wanted to be, let me tell you.
And he had a big stage career as well, right? I think he did Dracula on stage as well as
I believe so, yeah.
many other productions. He was huge. He did like I think 76 productions, stage productions in his life, in addition to all the television and movies he's worked on. So he's also a big name on the stage as well. So recently he was cast in a Netflix adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading from this article now. Frank Langella has responded to his firing from Netflix's limited series, The Fall of the House of Usher, following a misconduct investigation. Before I go further, this sort of thing has been happening more and more in Hollywood. Big fan of the show Bull and of Freddie Rodriguez, who was the lawyer that worked for Bull. His name was Benny on the show, and has not been on this season because apparently there was some sort of investigation into him, and Freddie Rodriguez was no longer going to be on the show. I don't know what happened because obviously no one's talking about what happened, so I don't know. But that also kind of smelled, and I thought it was a shame because, in my opinion, he was like the co-star of the show next to the actor that plays Bull. But anyway, let me go on and finish reading this article. And I guess what I'm trying to say is this Me Too stuff. A lot more of it's happening, but it's now happening out of the spotlight. This is an example of something that did pop out. I
would also say that a lot of this cancellation, I'm starting to see a shift, and we'll talk more about that with the next article. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to make a reference back to something we talked about last week. But this idea that it's not just about Me Too, it's also about other things. They're looking for any reason to cancel. And I think the Me Too thing, especially with the current court case that's happening, that's so, front and center. I think a lot of companies are starting to back off the believe all women thing. And they're starting to realize that's a problem. No kidding, people. But they're also just go ahead and continue with this one. We'll get into it.
Sure. So in a lengthy statement written as a guest column for Deadline, the actor refutes published statements that he fondled a female co-star during a quote-unquote fully clothed love scene filmed March 25th, alleging that he only touched the actress's leg, a move that was not in the show's blocking. He also alleges he was fired for telling an off-color joke, calling his co-star baby or honey, and giving the young actress a hug or touch on her shoulder. The Hollywood Reporter first reported that Langella has been fired from the limited series following allegations that the actor made inappropriate remarks to a female co-star. Netflix declined to comment at the time. I've just been canceled just like that, his column begins. In the increasing madness that currently pervades our industry, I could not have imagined that the words collateral damage would fall upon my shoulders. The actor, cast as Roderick Usher, the lead in the Netflix take on Edgar Allan Poe's classic, states the incident that resulted in his termination from the series took place while he was, quote-unquote, sitting on a couch with the unnamed actress standing in front of me. This is when Langella says she stated he had touched her leg, acknowledging it wasn't in the blocking, and afterwards turned and walked off the set, followed by the director and the intimacy coordinator. Langella said he was asked to give his former co-star, who ultimately did not return to set, some space. An investigation was opened, he says, and he was next contacted approximately a week later by Netflix's Human Resources Department. He alleges that during a phone call, the events of the incident were read back to him, including a note that the intimacy coordinator had instructed him where both actors should place their hands. The actor goes on to say that he was questioned on his on-set response to the intimacy coordinator. The instructions were to place his hands were absurd, a comment that the actor confirms. It was a love scene on camera. Legislating the placement of hands, to my mind, is ludicrous. It undermines instinct and spontaneity, Langella writes. Langella alleges he was then instructed by Netflix Human Resources representative not to have further contact with his co-star, the intimacy coordinator, or anyone else in the company due to the potential risk of retaliation. He also says he had a conversation with the producer who told him, "You can't joke, you can't compliment, you can't touch. It's a new order." Langella says he was denied a hearing with the accuser or Netflix. The directors and producers stopped answering my emails and phone calls. He writes, within 30 minutes of my firing, a letter went out to cast and crew, and a full press release was sent immediately. My representatives and I were given no opportunity to comment or collaborate on the narrative. Langella says the response to his behavior on set is not fair, not just, and not American. I cannot speak to the intentions of my accuser or Netflix, but the impact on me has been incalculable. I lost a thrilling part, the chance at future earnings, and perhaps face a stretch of unemployment. Netflix terminated me after 3 months of work. With only 3 weeks left to shoot, I have as yet to be fully
Remunerated.
Thank you. That's okay for my services.
I wasn't looking at it. I was guessing. Remunerated.
Okay, thank you. That's a tongue twister. Good on Langella there. Most importantly, my reputation has been tarnished. Yeah, I mean, he may never work again because of this. He's already 84, and
if I was him, I'd be like, I'm done. I'm not even going to try. I don't care anymore.
EHR confirmed the investigation of Langella's conduct was completed midway through production, with the actors role recast and Bruce Greenwood taking over the part. Footage of Langella will not be used, according to a source with knowledge of the situation. And THR has reached out to Netflix for comments. So no comments right now. Are you Bruce Greenwood? I might be careful. I don't understand what's going on here. This is insanity to me. And any older actor, you don't do any productions that include quote unquote intimacy scenes with anybody, because it's all gone nuts. I don't even know why they're even having intimacy scenes in shows anymore. No one's mature enough to handle them.
Well, someone pointed out, someone in the chat, I think it was Deleted Scenes, said, keep in mind, these are the same people that shielded Weinstein and Epstein. And, this is, these are the same hypocrites. It's fine when we do it. It's not okay when you do it, or whatever. And it's kind of, well, again, look at what we're talking about. Netflix here, right? We're talking about the company that's literally on the verge of going out of business. We were talking about this last week. They have no content, and the content they put out of their own is so over the top woke, nobody wants it. They lost 50% of their market share, in the span of a month. They're not going to be around. We're not even going to be talking about Netflix a year from now at this rate.
I was rather livid by this, because I believe that this man is a living legend in Hollywood. And I don't think maybe we'll be hearing stories come out now.
And we just talked last week about Bill Murray. Same.
Yep.
Now it was a very different thing. It was clearly not, like he touched someone inappropriately or something. It was Bill Murray being Bill Murray. He's not showing up on time. He's not being held to the same standards I am. This isn't fair. Guess what? Life ain't fair. You want Bill Murray, you get Bill Murray. He doesn't show up for the first couple days of filming. He shows up late. But when you get him in front of the camera, he's Bill fucking Murray, and you get, movie screen gold, and your movie does well, and if you, young chippy that nobody knows about, have a problem with that, you're in the wrong fucking business.
So, Lily Scene said, I tend to believe Frank Langella. These are the same people who shielded Weinstein and Epstein. Of course they are. This is not about morality. This is about covering your butt from any. This is about fear and covering your butt. It's not about doing the right thing. This is ridiculous. It was a fully clothed love scene, so I'm assuming they were making out or something. I don't know. I don't know who's playing his young wife. That has not been disclosed. I'm assuming we will find out at some point who she was. I have a suspicion. I'm hoping it's not
whoever
her.
She is. She's going to have to learn, you chose to get into acting. Some things are going to happen you might not enjoy. You better start counting the cost and choose a different line of work if you don't like it.
Man, working in Hollywood sounds so fun these days.
Yeah, right.
You know what's? There's a great movie called The Editor, which is it's a riff on a lot of those Italian gialli movies that I love so much.
Mhm.
But it was made by a Canadian comedy team called Astron Six, and they made this movie. But there's a scene in it where the one director says, "Ugh, making movies used to be fun," and I'm like, I'm nodding my head, and I don't know why, because of course
I'll
the
tell you
murder's
what.
happening on the set, but it's
You know, Auditor Dread's talking about Amber Heard and how, you just highlighted it. And I'll tell you something. I see in the next couple months, people like this are going to start being referred to as Amber Heards, and they're going to say like, Frank Langella got Amber Hearded out the door.
Yeah, Bill Murray, Fred Savage, and now Frank Langella. We're getting the Fred Savage later. Here's the deal, though. Intimacy coordinators. I remember first hearing that term when we covered our first article on Lord of the Rings, right? And I'm thinking intimacy coordinators, and it's like, okay, you have to put your hand here during this moment. I'm the one that decides where the hands go. When you're an actor, you have to be in the character's mindset. Yeah. And obviously, I think at any point the actress could say stop or cut or something. I'm sure that's fine. But when you're in that role, you have to get into the character's mindset. You're probably playing Roderick Usher, who's part crazy.
I said it at the time. I think this intimacy coordinator is just like HR in any other business. They are not really there to protect anybody but the company. You know, oh crap, we got a problem. You know, we gotta go through these, you know, this red tape now.
What? Why he got fired? Apparently he touched a leg during an intimacy scene, but he wasn't supposed to touch the leg, and he called someone honey, made an off-color joke. I don't know what that was. That could be anything these days, considering how we have an industry of snowflakes right now. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. They claim inappropriate behavior, inappropriate based on their own personal feelings, not based on any real, demonstrable code of conduct. That's the problem.
Basically, though, I'm thinking, who is Netflix to destroy Frank Langella's career? They were a video rental company. They got into streaming by basically getting all the other companies.
That's not going to exist next year. So
what do they have? What is their legacy? You know, when we talk about, like, I talk about Warner Media and or Disney or these companies, these are companies I actually don't want to see die. I actually do want to see them reform themselves and get better and get all.
There's only one thing Netflix has,
but I could give a shit about Netflix.
There's only one thing Netflix has that anyone cares about, and that's Cobra Kai. And that's about to run its course anyway.
And let's be honest here, Cobra Kai started as a YouTube series.
True.
It didn't even start out as a Netflix series. Netflix.
It was one of their acquisitions. But the reality is, what their legacy is going to be, it's going to be Cuties. It's going to be the Pregnant Man Show. It's going to be. Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No, I don't know if I want to know about that.
Yeah,
that'll be next week's show. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we'll show you later. But yeah, that was their most recent offering about a trans, whatever it is, having a baby,
right?
You know, and people are just going, yeah, well, if this is what Netflix is, I'm not interested anymore.
And making entertainment partnerships with certain former presidents, which is odd, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I think it's odd to be.
Absolutely.
It's just this whole thing. I'm just done, and I'm over Netflix at this point. I was rather livid when I read this article, because I'm actually a big Frank Langella fan, and he's had a long career, and this is not how it should end. He shouldn't be publicly ridiculed and then tossed aside.
Well, Netflix is another company that needs to go away, and it probably is. So there you go. And speaking of companies that are just actively trying desperately to destroy themselves, let's continue this conversation of cancellation as we talk about Disney.
So we know Fred Savage, don't we?
Yeah, Wonder Years.
Oh, I didn't even read this comment. He touched my leg. Meanwhile, Polanski got away with, something of a minor. Yes, okay, but anyway.
Yeah, what he did to a pudding person, exactly.
Oh. Fred Savage fired as the Wonder Years EP director following investigation into inappropriate conduct. This is what's happening. Like I said, Freddie Rodriguez, not only that, the head writer of Bull, he got let go too, whose career had started with moonlighting. He actually started, that was his first show. I guess he'd been working in television for years. He got rid of, because I guess he said some mean things on set or something to somebody.
Yeah, and that's what, this one does not.
And the writing has been worse this season as a result, I'm just going to say.
This Fred Savage thing, and you're going to get into it as you go into the article, shows no indication of being anything like sexual Me Too type of stuff. This seems to be something else entirely. This is even more like the Bill Murray thing, is what it sounds like to me.
There?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't hear you talking.
I wasn't. I'm just. It says I'm having trouble connecting. Okay, it's all better now. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so Fred Savage fired as the Wonder Years. I mean, fired.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense, because when you get fired, are you going to work again in Hollywood?
And here's the other thing.
Risk on you.
EP, is that executive producer?
Executive producer, yes, that's
executive producer and director. Honestly, how do they continue the show without him?
I don't know. Disney is severing ties with Fred Savage following multiple complaints of misconduct in his role as executive producer and director on the freshman ABC comedy series The Wonder Years, produced by 20th Television.
That's what they're calling it now, yeah.
Oh, that's so stupid. Okay, part of Disney Television Studios. The allegations were investigated, leading to Savage's dismissal. The Wonder Years, a reboot of the beloved 1988 series, which starred Savage, has not been renewed for a second season yet, but remains in contention. Just recently, we were made aware of allegations of inappropriate conduct by Fred Savage, and as his policy and investigation was launched, upon its completion, the decision was made to terminate his employment as an executive producer and director of The Wonder Years, a spokesman for 20th Television.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Said in a statement, the Deadline, declining further comment. Details about the nature of the allegations are unclear, but I hear they included verbal outbursts and inappropriate behavior. Deadline has reached out to Savage's reps for comment. Savage has always been the subject of misconduct accusations in the past. In 2018, the Wonder Years actress Allie Mills came forward with the claims that the cancellation of the original series followed a completely ridiculous sexual harassment suit filed by a costumer against Savage, then 16, and Jason Hervey, then 20, which Mills, who played Savage and Hervey's mother on the show, said was settled out of court. Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with, and maybe I'm just a little sensitive from watching court cases and whatnot lately, but that previous case, completely irrelevant. An alleged, he was a horny teenager, for crying out loud, and a minor at that. You're going to, whatever happened back then happened. But again, it doesn't sound like these are the same kind of allegations. It doesn't sound like these are sexual allegations.
No. Can I make a point? To say something. With all these younger people always on their phones and not working, it's no wonder experienced professionals get angry. I see this on set all the time. Yeah. You know what I think is happening? I don't know if you've ever worked on a movie set or production. I've worked on some smaller things, at schools and like smaller productions. Things can get stressful and people yell at each other.
Yeah.
The idea is you don't take it personal. You're yelling at each other in the set, then you're going out for pancakes after.
As you recall, I said the same thing, and I am no Tom Cruise fan at all. I said this at the time, but I defended him when there was that whole thing about him, blowing up at some people not following mask mandates or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
And he said, because what they were going through under the pandemic rules.
Lots of pressure. Because one person has to get sick, and they said you weren't following the rules
and it was all his money. He was the primary producer there, right? And it's sounding like we got another executive producer. This is his money going into it.
Yeah.
And what are the accusations? He rolled his eyes, he yelled, he said nasty things. He's your boss. You don't like it? Go work fucking somewhere else.
Movies are very expensive. Television even more so, because the time crunch on television, I think, is even worse than on movies.
Yeah.
And every minute wasted, every bad take, that's money. Money flushed down the toilet.
like David said, they're all in their phones and they're all about their fifis, and you hurt me, and this is how I feel, and I need a safe space. You know what? Fine. Quit. Leave. Go to your safe place. There's no safe space here for you. Here we are professionals, and we all follow the rules. Maybe there's different rules for someone else who's got more seniority, who's been around a while, who's making more money than you, because you're nobody. Get over it.
Yeah, the same year, a crew member of Savage's Fox series The Grinder filed a lawsuit accusing the actor of attacking and harassing her on the set of the series in 2015. At the time, Savage called the allegations completely without merit and absolutely untrue, while 20th Television, because that's a great title for...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting angry.
What would attacking her? I want to know exactly what they mean by attacking. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Look, I've been a hiring manager. I've had people working for me. I know what it's like when I get these complaints, this person is creating a hostile work environment. How are they creating a hostile work environment? They expect me to show up on time. They expect me to be here every day of the week.
They expect you to be competent
They
at your
expect me
job.
to be working when I'm supposed to be working. And they expect me to be back on time from my breaks. That's a hostile work environment. No, that is the expectation. If you don't like it, leave.
Yeah. Movie making is an intense environment, but it's also very
your lines
interesting.
when you come to set, too.
Yeah. I'm forgetting one movie where they were having, I think it was one of these actors like Bill Murray, like a legendary actor, and they had him come up, but of course, the production was getting stalled and all this other stuff. But as soon as the actor read the line, done. It was one take and they were done. They were perfect. So they made a point. Yeah, he was a little difficult. He showed, he would show up late to the set, but whenever he did his lines, they were perfect. I forget which actor it was, but the point is, you have to be competent. These are... Movie sets can be an intense environment, but it's all about getting the movie done or getting the TV show done in a timely manner and also well done. And you're either up to that task or you're not. And, you're going to get yelled at. Everyone gets yelled at. I'm sorry, because it's not about you. It's about the production. It's about the production.
Well, and I think that it also comes down to, you have very different situation if you're working for, say, Sony, or you're working for Disney or Netflix. The companies that are doing well are the ones that are treating it like a business. The ones that are, bending over backwards to accommodate the fifis of the dumb shits are the ones that are going fucking bankrupt. It just is. That's the way it is. Bumblechuck can work at McDonald's. You know what? And let them deal with it, and then bitch about their not getting a living wage. Well, that's too bad. You'd have had a living wage if you were working in the movie industry, but you decided to flip burgers.
I don't care. Well, listen to me. I don't care what you do, what job you have, as long as you do it well, including if you work at McDonald's. And to be fair, McDonald's was starting to get competitive when they couldn't find people because of what's been going on. So, but the point is that whatever job you do, you have to be good at it. And,
why'd you have to bring up McDonald's? Now I want a cheeseburger.
You're the one that brought it up.
Like almost 10 o'clock at night. I can't do that.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway.
You know what I'll say about Japan? This is what I've heard about Japan. It doesn't matter if you're working, you're a salaryman or you're working as a clerk in the store. Everybody over there supposedly takes their job very seriously and does it.
Yeah.
It's very work orientated.
It used to be that way here too.
Yes. Well,
and I don't care if you called it being professional, being, diligent, the Protestant work ethic, whatever you called it. Yeah. It was considered honorable. Nowadays, it's all about the feelings. It's all
you think you're owed something. I'm sorry. When you started on the set, you might be getting coffee for somebody at first. Yeah. You're not going to get the DP job right away. You have to prove yourself. But you learn. I know a lot of the times. I mean,
you bring up the DP, and my mind automatically goes to the casting couch. But that's
director of photography. Anyways, if that's what that still means, or anyway.
Who knows?
I'm sure Weinstein had his own definitions for that. But okay, so I hope I'm telling you, lawsuits are going to have to start happening with this stuff. I don't know if Frank Langella's planning anything. Stephanie Janicek might have her own comments on that because she mentioned she wanted to know if I had read his full statement. I think I had read his full thing, but I didn't. I just used the abbreviated version in the last article. I don't know what Fred Savage is planning to do, but this is ridiculous. This is
honestly, there are a lot of and there's a lot of bigger names that I've noticed that are keeping a very low profile. And you'll when you read between the lines of some of the articles of things that seem completely innocuous, like you never think twice about it. You hear that this celebrity is buying a winery and this one is doing this and this one is doing that. And I'm like, these people are diversifying because they know this is not going to last, that this Hollywood situation is getting bad and they are eventually going to have to get out and they need something to fall back on.
Used to temper the family business where the boss was bipolar. He would be your friend at one point, then yell at you the next. His family would end up destroying their equipment and family feuds. Yikes.
Yeah, that's a toxic situation to get out of. And it's your choice. If you want to continue working there, feel free to do it, but you know what situation you're in. People need to take responsibility for themselves too.
I worked at a bad family business once. I did eventually get out of there, but that was
if you don't own the business yourself, then you don't get to bitch about the situation. You there's the door. You can leave anytime you want.
I understand the rules. I'm just saying it was
and that's the situation I'm seeing in all this Hollywood stuff. They want to change Hollywood to accommodate them. And that's only going to go so far. And eventually someone's going to say, fuck you. We don't need you.
I'm telling you, like I said, a lot of people are trying to set up alternatives for Hollywood. You may have a whole big cast of actors to choose from at the rate things are going. Yep. This is ridiculous.
Yep.
And directors, I mean, Fred Savage,
I'll tell you what, you're not
television and movies his whole life. So
just like you can't get the comedies, so you're never going to see the Dave Chappelle films. You're never going to see Mel Brooks anymore in Hollywood. Well, now you're not going to have the names like Bill Murray, Frank Langella. None of these classic actors are going to be coming back anymore. And what are you going to be left with?
If you're an older actor, would you bother taking these roles anymore, especially if you don't need the money? I mean, he was probably just doing it because he loves acting.
I would make my own film, and I do it independently at this point. That's ridiculous. What I would do.
I don't know. I hope we need to see some lawsuits. Netflix is already enough trouble, but we'll get to that some.
Yeah. I just lost you again. Are you still there? Oh, he completely fell out of it. Well, I hope that everyone in the chat is still hearing me. I'm going to keep going with this thing. It's now my show, people. Oh, and I guess we should probably tell him you can take down the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've actually put up a banner specifically for the people in the green room. You know, like I send out the StreamYard thing, but then I want to go fill my drink. So I'll say, I'll be back in a moment or something. And then we start the live show and that banner's still going. And I'm like, oh, that's
okay. Troy, agree it was my choice to leave, and I'm happy I did.
Yeah.
It's an eye-opener of a young time. Didn't expect much that type of attitude work. Sometimes you get places.
Put me in, coach.
Tell me about it. Yeah, deleted scenes. Like I said, maybe next time Troy is going off on one of his tangents, I'll hop on YouTube and give you that wrench. But
there you go.
Square. Okay, so last week we had talked about Square Enix. I was talking about how they had a bad localization of one of their Japanese games that I was not a fan of. Remember the ethics board at the company, they didn't like the term characters being addressed as woman in a medieval fantasy game environment. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yep,
remember that last week? Okay. Well, Square Enix was in the news again this week. So Square Enix is a fairly big company, and they actually bought out, even though they were mainly a Japanese company at first, they did become international when they bought. They did buy a bunch of Western developers as well, including the people that make the Tomb Raider games. Remember, you know what Tomb Raider is, don't you?
I do know Tomb Raider.
Angelina Jolie was in the movie adaptations.
You noticed that I used the picture from the article of, I guess that's the current Lara Croft, and I put in the original Lara Croft in a little insert.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but anyway, here's the big article. Lara Croft is no longer part of the Square Enix family. On Monday, the Japanese gaming giant announced it struck a deal to sell its Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. So they sold, I guess, a lot of the French studios, French Canadian studios, to Swedish publisher Embracer Group, formerly THQ Nordic. The 300 million deal means that Square Enix will no longer publish Tomb Raider games, as well as Deus Ex, Thief, and the Legacy of Kain titles. You might remember Thief. You were a PC gamer, right? In Deus Ex, they were PC games. Yeah. Lara Croft got a reboot by developer Crystal Dynamics in 2013's Tomb Raider, a game that got 2 sequels in Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The series proved a huge success, selling over 35 million copies between them. Meanwhile, Eidos Montreal reviving the 90s cult classic Deus Ex with acclaimed titles Deus Ex Human Evolution and Mankind Divided. It's not necessarily bad news for Croft fans. The acquisition brings a compelling pipeline of new installments from beloved franchises' original IPs, including a new Tomb Raider game, reads a statement from Embracer. What happens to Square Enix published Marvel games is an open question. Crystal Dynamics developed The Avengers, and Eidos Montreal developed last year's Guardians of the Galaxy game. Square Enix said in a statement that the sale works to 2 ends. First, it allows more cash flow in an increasingly volatile business environment, presumably a reference to a combination of the pandemic, war, and inflation. Second, it can use the money to invest in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. On numerous occasions, Square Enix has stated its interest in harnessing the blockchain for gaming, which means integrating cryptocurrency and NFTs into video games. In-game items are owned as NFTs and can be sold for tokens that can be turned back to dollars. In his New Year's letter to investors and customers, Square Enix's president Yosuke Matsuda acknowledged that the NFT market is overheated, but wrote that games featuring token economies can usher in a new era of user-generated content. Overheated, I heard it's crashing, but what do I know? Blockchain-powered gaming is already a huge moneymaker, just not from traditional companies. Over 40 million has been spent last week in NFT sprites for Ragnarok, a browser-based RPG game that rolled out between May and December, while Yuga Labs alone made $320 million, blah, blah. Okay, traditional gaming audiences reject the idea, however, Ubisoft integrated NFTs into Ghost Recon Breakpoint in December, but the announcement trailer received so much criticism that the company took it down from YouTube. Similar blowback calls GSM Game World to scrap NFTs in its Stalker 2 game just 36 hours after revealing plans. And I realize that some people play to have fun, and currently form the majority of players have voiced their reservations toward these new trends. Matsuda wrote in January. I remember commenting on this. However, I believe there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is to play to contribute, by which I mean to help the game make the game more exciting. Okay.
I don't understand a lot of this kind of gaming stuff, but Mr.
No.
Matchstick,
Go ahead. Yeah. What is Mr.
I was going to say,
Matchstick
Mr. Matchstick seems to have a good grasp on it, and I'm wondering what you think about, what he's saying. He's saying, like, for example, he's heard good. Yeah, there you go.
Those French Canadian studios were worth way more than 300 million. Square sold all of this for 300 million, which many think was like a bargain price. Think about it. You get Tomb Raider plus all these other gaming properties and also the studios that go with them. And you get all that for 300 million. And I'm wondering why they chucked them for so little money. I've heard speculation that maybe they're trying to devalue maybe there's someone on the inside trying to devalue the company so that Sony or some other big company buys them out. That's just speculation, though. There's no evidence.
Real quick, let's say goodbye to Horizon Talker, who's he's gonna have to leave. Hopefully, you come back tomorrow and catch the rest of the show or whatever. But really, super appreciate you being here, buddy.
Okay, so let me try and run it down for you. Square Enix buys these Western developed studios and doesn't really do a ton with the properties that they buy. They did make a new Tomb Raider trilogy, which was well received in the beginning because Rhianna Pratchett, Terry Pratchett's daughter, did the writing for the first 2 games. But I heard that the writing for the second one wasn't as good, but people don't blame Rhianna Pratchett for that. They think the game developers kept making her do things she didn't want to do. And then she didn't even write the 3rd game, which was not well received. In fact, people think the story for the game is so bad, people don't even want to play it again. and I haven't necessarily liked the new direction they took Lara Croft in. They made her younger, more inexperienced, more realistic. I think they got embarrassed by those Uncharted games, and they wanted to make something that was a little more grounded in reality rather than the grandiose babe that we had in the older games that, had the two guns and was kicking ass and taking names and looked good doing it. I kind of miss the old Lara Croft. I don't hate the new Lara Croft or anything, but I do miss the old one. And I don't know what THQ Nordic has planned. I know that they had unveiled that latest Saints Row trailer, which did not impress me. But their other stuff has been pretty good in recent years. So if I hadn't been for that latest Saints Row trailer, I might actually be I still don't get the NFT thing or Bitcoin or crypto, whatever.
Not to get too far off on this. I was saying the same thing a while back. I did not understand NFTs. I just recently saw something that completely, at least I think I now completely understand it, and it's bullshit. So I heard about something called Earth 2. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
Okay.
You can buy land, right? Yeah.
In theory, they are creating a virtual Earth where you can literally buy land and you can convert real world currency into I'm going to call it in-game currency, even though it's not really a game. And this is meant to be like this, what is it that Zuckerberg wants to create? The
metaverse.
The metaverse. Yeah, this is supposed to be like a metaverse thing and whatnot. And NFTs are and this is basically what they're doing. They're making NFTs. You own the land, it's an NFT. You own this virtual land. It's unique to you in the digital world. And it's basically the idea of artificial scarcity for value reasons. Look, the whole idea behind a digital world is it should be like in video games, okay? If you own a piece of land in Earth 2, okay, a really nice apartment in New York, say, in the digital world, okay, well, then I shouldn't be able to buy it, right? Because you already own it. That's an NFT. But there's nothing preventing the creators of this world from going, you know what? We can resell this same apartment. It's just like in video games. What do you call them? MMORGs or whatever. You can have
massively multiplayer online RPG.
Yeah, yes. You could be in the same city at the same time, but in a different, in quotes, instance, right? It's basically a fabricated way of just taking your money. Stay the fuck away from it. All this NFT stuff is fake bullshit that they're trying to tell you is valuable, and you don't actually own anything. It kind of goes back to the whole own physical media thing, right? Okay. Yeah. If you own physical media, they can't take it away from you. If you buy, in quotes, some streaming thing and you own it out on the cloud or whatever, you don't actually own it because they can take it away from you at any time. That's what an NFT is.
NFTs seem to be the Ponzi scheme of our time. I've talked about NFTs on this channel before, tried to go into details about what they are. I am still confused. I think Mr. Massey, NFTs are just a link to a JPEG. Yes, but you own the JPEG. Well, you don't really own the JPEG. You own the receipt of ownership of the JPEG or a copy of the receipt. And so no one knows what this stuff is.
Right.
Blockchain. I hear all these fancy terms for that. And apparently I keep reading articles about how all this stuff is crashing. I think Matchstick sent me something over email about this, and I don't know. I just know that Square Enix, they're getting rid of these I guess fairly competent Western studios, which I think the Avengers game didn't do well because I forgot what the reason behind that was. Maybe it was, I don't know, I can't speak to that. Something was wrong with it though, that's why it didn't do well. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy game, I think, was somewhat well received, but I think just not enough people bought it. Another part of the problem with these Avengers games, they don't use the movie actors. They create their own versions of these characters for the game, which I kind of understand. if you're trying a game universe, maybe you don't want to go along with the movie universe. You know, maybe you want to make it its own thing. But they just were not that successful, or at least not successful enough by Square standards.
I am going to drop a link in the chat.
Okay.
See, did I do it? Yeah. So this is that video that I was just telling you about that I watched. Hoglaw is one of the lawyers that I've started following since you know the Johnny Depp trial and the Rittenhouse thing. Been following all these lawyers and learning some law.
Right.
And he gets into this whole Earth 2 thing, and he goes through the terms of service on it, and he breaks down the whole NFT concept. Auditor Dredd said it's a Ponzi scheme. It's more like a pyramid scheme. And Hogue goes into what the difference is between the two.
Oh, look at this. But Troy Pacelli, what if I sell you my digital timeshare?
Yeah. I'm not dumb enough to fall for that. Hell,
do you know what's funny?
I don't like real timeshares, let alone digital ones.
This is what I think. Like some of these elite tech people are planning for. At least this is the idea. Like, you get to own a nice penthouse apartment in virtual New York, and you'll still have to pay a lot of money, but it won't be nearly as much as paying for a real penthouse apartment in actual New York. And you can sit in your pod and put your virtual reality glasses on it, and here you go. You may be a loser in our world, but you can be the penthouse owner in the virtual world.
Well,
then maybe in the virtual world, though, you can go into another virtual world to get out of that virtual world. And this is mind-boggling.
That's what they're saying. They're trying to make it seem like what is it called? Ready Player One, or what was that Bruce Willis movie where they live their life through avatars? Whatever. It's like that. And the fact is, for all this socialism that people want to push, talk about the opportunity for a post scarcity world. That's exactly what the artificial world could be. You want a beautiful luxury house, it doesn't cost you anything. You just replicate it. That's the whole idea behind post scarcity, and that's why socialism doesn't work in the real world, because socialism is based on actually finite resources that people are fighting over, and the only way that you can share them equally is if everybody agrees to that. You have one person that says, fuck you, I'm taking it all falls apart. Whereas in a digital world, you could have everyone having everything they want at any time and can do anything. But that's not what this is. This is, we're purposely going to continue the scarcity of the real world in the digital world, and nothing changes. Except you don't actually own anything. You've given us real world money that you can't get back for fake money that we can take away from you at any time.
You know what's annoying too? I heard that the NFT technology could actually be used, for example, maybe I buy a digital copy of something off iTunes, or I buy a digital game on my Xbox or something, and maybe I don't want the game anymore. Maybe I could either sell it to somebody else, or I could give it away to somebody else and they could have the game then, which would be convenient, because sometimes I have duplicates of digital games on different platforms and I don't necessarily need the other one. I could like to get rid of the other one, but it's not like I can actually distribute this thing to anyone. And they could use the NFT for by making digital stuff something that might be somewhat tangible in the electronic space. But they don't want to
get off
use
on
it for
a
that.
Tangent about intellectual property, but there comes a point where this desire to keep a dictatorial control over intellectual property shits all over people's personal rights after they've purchased something. Okay, that's why the intellectual property law is supposed to have something called fair use. For example, I've mentioned this many times. I buy a DVD. I have a right, after having purchased it, to make a copy of it for my own personal use. I'm not giving it to somebody else. I'm not, selling it. I'm just putting the original aside and protecting it, and then just watching that one until that one gets effed, and then I make another copy. That's called fair use. You're allowed to do that. But they try to put copy guards and stuff on to prevent the bad stuff, and thereby infringe on, the fair use. And it's bullshit. And then you got Disney going, well, we want to keep extending copyrights so that nothing ever falls into the public domain, which is, again, not what intellectual property was ever supposed to be. And then you got people go, fuck it, I don't care anymore. I'm pirating and I'm copying and giving it away.
Yeah. Oh, looks.
Yeah, let's bring it back around to the topic.
Well, no. I mean, I like what you have to say, but I mean, it's.
I got totally off topic. Though.
It's okay. Marvel Avengers failed due to not having focused direction. Originally, it was supposed to be storied third-person co-op. Then executives changed it to a live service game with pre-order bonus linked to purchases of various items such as T-Mobile, the chewing gum you can acquire useless skins. The game was also a buggy mess that didn't work at launch. Guardians
starting to sound like the MCU to me.
Guardians Avengers is supposed to be a fun, story-driven game where a handle on characters correctly. Avengers gave focus to their best Avenger ever, Kamala Khan. Yeah, they made her the main character in the game too. That was another thing. So.
Which is another reason why I think a lot of people don't like the character and now are kind of rebelling against any of this MCU stuff. I think that kind of blowback is starting to fall back on America Chavez too.
But I don't know. I think this is. I'm going to get the long and the short of this article, though. Strikes me, SquareSoft is getting rid of some decent game developers and some decent properties to focus their money on scamming people and bullshit. That's what it sounds like to me.
So they'll go the way of Netflix and Disney. Okay.
Where Square Enix used to be, and keep in mind, Square Enix used to be two separate companies, Enix and SquareSoft, and they merged many years ago, and they used to be the top Japanese game company for Japanese role-playing games. They were big ones that make like Final Fantasy. They own Final Fantasy. They own Dragon Quest. They own a lot of those types of games. And it's just sad. I feel they're going the way of Konami. And they have this ethics board that complains about, female characters in games being dressed as women and other things. Maybe the ethics board could focus on the NFT nonsense. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway. But big deal. We'll see if THQ Nordic can do anything with these. I'm not holding my breath, but maybe they'll surprise me.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, I was fine with Embracer Group up until that latest Saints Row trailer, then where they kind of wokified it.
We've talked about Netflix. We've talked about Disney. We've talked about Square Enix. We're talking about companies that are shit companies that are literally putting themselves out of business. Let's turn this around and talk about a company that's actually making some good decisions.
So here we have Sony loses millions after rejecting China's demand to remove Statue of Liberty from new Spider-Man.
Yeah, this was a big one. I actually have two articles about about this same topic. I don't remember if you sent them to me or
I sent both to you, but I'll read a little bit from both. In China, films are reviewed by the China Film Administration under the Publicity Department of the Chinese Communist Party. According to multiple sources who spoke to PUC, Chinese authorities initially wanted Sony and Marvel Studios to take out the American landmark, which is prominently featured during the film's third act. Chinese regulators reportedly modified the original request to remove the action-packed sequences, instead asking for the removal of certain shots from the sequence that they deemed too patriotic. There are such as scenes where Tom Holland's Spider-Man stands on the Statue of Liberty's crown. The regulators also suggested dimming the parts where the statue is shown to make it less noticeable. Sony ultimately rejected the request, resulting in Chinese authorities preventing the latest Spider-Man film from being released in the biggest film market in the world. The film lost potentially $170 million to $340 million in sales from China, according to reports. Spider-Man Homecoming, the first film in the latest Spider-Man trilogy, earned around $117 million, 13.3% of its global earnings in China in 2017. Sequel 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home generated about $204 million, 18.25% of its global earnings in the region. Despite never having been released in China, Spider-Man No Way Home still became one of the highest-grossing movies of all time, listed behind other blockbusters such as Avatar, Titanic, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, exactly.
We attack companies when they do bad, but it's like the carrot and stick, right?
There's one thing that I don't...
Good here.
We talk about things like Get Woke, Go Broke. We get where, you know, they make decisions that clearly lose them money and it's a bad thing, right? But one thing that we don't talk about is sometimes a good business model means sometimes taking less money now for public goodwill in the future. What do I mean by that? In a situation like this, they're basically telling China, we don't need you. What we need is to have the freedom to make the movies that we know are good and that our audiences want. You may not be our audience. And they decide to do what's right. You know, look, Spider-Man, New York, the Statue of Liberty, right? They go together. You don't fundamentally take New York away from Spider-Man, right? Just evidenced by, you know, that one scene from the Tobey Maguire one, right? Where it's like, you mess with him, you mess with us. This is New York, you know? And so honestly, they lost millions. I think over time, Sony is building so much goodwill between Spider-Man, Sonic, Ghostbusters.
Sonic's not Sony. That's Paramount.
Not?
That's Paramount.
Whoops! And I put it under the wrong one. I thought this was a game thing because it was a Sony game, wasn't it?
No, that's a Sega game.
Sega.
You're thinking of Uncharted. Uncharted is Sony.
Okay, Sonic is the wrong, but it's the same principle though.
Yeah.
This whole idea that when you make the choice to make the best product possible without capitulating to some minority possible dollars, you are going to be successful. Spider-Man, Ghostbusters, Sonic, I don't care. Whatever you point to where they're making those kind of choices. They take a loss in the short term and they earn a reputation that people will be like, you know what? That company has always stood by me. I'm going to stand by that company. You know what company used to have that kind of reputation and is pissing it away? Disney.
Oh, Disney. There's a rumor and they're wondering why. I mean, not that Rise of Skywalker was a great film or was going to be fixed, but there's a scene in it where I guess she calls upon all the deceased Jedi, the Jedi spirits, to help her fight the cloned Emperor Palpatine or whatever he was. But you only hear their voices, and I suspected in the original script you were actually supposed to see like Mace Windu show up, and maybe I don't know, like Anakin Sky, all these Force spirits show up to help her out. And I think the reason they weren't there is because China don't like the ghosts. China doesn't like anything to do with ghosts, and they don't like time travel either.
And we see it all the time, whether it's supernatural, whether it's something. Wasn't it the upcoming Top Gun movie? They changed the uniform on the Air Force uniform to capitulate to China.
Here's what I think happened. I think he had flags sewn on the back of his jacket, and one was a flag for Taiwan, and China made them remove it, not just in the Chinese version, but also in all versions. They didn't want the Taiwanese flag on there. And I think Paramount capitulated. So
yeah, well, when you capitulate, then I have no respect for you, and I don't want anything to do with your
now. To be fair, I have no idea what's happened since then because that movie has taken forever to come out. Maybe they put it back in. I don't know.
Who knows? They have just not putting it out. They've lost so damn much money. They're fucked with that movie.
But I like this. No Way Home proves movies do not need China for their box office. Also, China apparently would hate Ghostbusters 2's third act. They don't. Oh yeah, because of the Statue of Liberty, right? We know why. I'm sorry. We know why they don't want the Statue of Liberty on film.
And I don't care.
No,
again, you're right.
Do you know why? It's not just the fact that it's an American symbol. It's also, I remember being a little kid and I'm watching my Saturday morning cartoons, and then suddenly it gets interrupted with news of a little event called Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
And the Chinese students over there that were doing the protesting, I believe they made their own version of the Statue of Liberty. I think they called it the Statue of Freedom or something, but they were inspired by the United States and what we had over here, and they made their own statue, like as part of the protests. I think the idea is that they were there was going to be an uprising, they would have their own statue, like the Statue of Liberty over there. And of course, they got crushed by tanks and jailed and all sorts of other horrible things by that horrible government. And we have to keep in mind there are good people in all countries, and we don't like their governments, and they were one of them. And they unfortunately paid a very nasty price for their protesting. But and I think the Statue of Liberty, I think, is a reminder of them of that moment when they were shamed on the world stage. And this is where we are now when we went from condemning that sort of behavior to kissing their ass.
Personally, I look at what Sony did here with Spider-Man, and I see them being just like the Tiananmen Square guy standing in front of the tank saying, "Nope, you move."
Yeah, and Maverick Top Gun release date May 24th. apparently it is finally getting released, so
I don't care.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's not so much the fact that if they take it out of the Chinese version, that's one thing. I didn't like the fact they were going to take it out of all versions. I have no idea what's happened since then, though.
Yeah.
But here's another. This is from the New York Post. I kind of like their article. Sony stands up to Chinese communists on Statue of Liberty. With great power comes great responsibility, a motto taken to heart by Sony recently when it defied the demands of the Chinese Communist Party to delete the Statue of Liberty from Spider-Man No Way Home ahead of its release. Apparently, China's censors asked the Japanese entertainment giant if it could cut Lady Liberty from the film's ending, but was rebuffed given the prominence of the statue plays in the film's climax, in which three Spider-Men swing around one of the world's most identifiable markers of freedom whilst battling supervillains. Never one to take rejection. Well, China came back asking if the monument could be minimized. Specifically, Puck reported if Sony could cut a few of the more patriotic shots of Tom Holland standing atop the crown, dull the lighting so that Lady Liberty's visage wasn't so front and center. It's refreshing to see such a massive company defending freedom, especially when it comes to a move could threaten the purse strings. The previous two Holland Spider movies grossed 116, 200 million at Chinese box office. And it isn't the first time Sony has stood up against Chinese censors. When Beijing asked director Quentin Tarantino to omit Bruce Lee's portrayal from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he refused, Sony backed him. China canceled the movie's release. Sony's leaders seem to realize that freedom hangs on slender threads and that bowing to bullies for profit is a long-run loser. Good for them. I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, have you?
Not yet, I haven't, but I do intend to.
There's a great scene with Bruce Lee in it when he's I guess the character played by Brad Pitt is on the set of Green Hornet, and so you see him in the Kato outfit, right?
Sure.
And here's the thing you have to understand about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, hence the title, Once Upon a Time. It's kind of, you should look at it as a sort of a fairy tale. Not that I want to spoil the end for you.
I knew that when you said Quentin Tarantino, so yeah.
Yeah. And they say, oh, Bruce Lee would never do that. No, it was a funny scene that he's in. And the actor who did it pulled off Bruce Lee to a hill. And no, do I think that ever happened or ever? Not necessarily, no. But it's a funny scene in context of the movie. And it's actually to show how tough the Brad Pitt character is in the movie. If he could don't you
know that there was there was a whole in World War II, there was a whole platoon of Jewish soldiers that took on all the Nazis and burned Hitler up in a theater.
In the theater. It's the same thing. It's exactly. An artificial. It's history according to the Tarantino world's history.
Yeah, I dig that.
And that's what it is. You're not supposed to be taking it verbatim. And I thought it's a great scene. And obviously Tarantino has a great affection for Bruce Lee. He put Uma Thurman in one of the Bruce Lee's outfits for Kill Bill.
Yes, he did.
And it was a nod to his favorite director, Sergio Leone. It's a nod to a lot of things of that period of movie making. But yeah, there's some nods to Sergio Leone in that as well. If you ever get around to seeing it, Troy, it's great fun.
Oh yeah, I do intend to.
There's wish fulfillment in it. I don't want to say how.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't want to speak without spoiling it. But
no, that's what Tarantino's about. I know that. But I apologize that I put this under the wrong heading because, again, I didn't know that Sonic was.
Don't worry
not
about it. I
Sony.
mean, you can get Sonic games on Sony platforms, but no. But here's the deal: Paramount. This is an example, though. Well, we'll say this: it's another game company, and when Paramount was doing the original Sonic and showed the CG character, everybody screamed. I think Sega stepped in and said, "Paramount, you fix this."
Yeah.
And they did, and then the movie was a big hit. It's actually an example of the fans complaining about something, of a studio actually listening to the fans, or at
Yeah.
least the game company, and then they fix it, and then the movie's a big hit.
Yep.
Which, it's not a crime to make a mistake. The crime is maybe not listening to the criticism.
Well, I'll tell you, it's an even bigger crime to make a mistake you know is a mistake, but because you're not allowed to change gears, you go ahead and you make it. It's like, well, fine, go ahead and walk off that cliff, you dumbass.
Sega and Paramount Pictures announced new film sales status for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic 2 movie ended up becoming the highest grossing domestic video game adaptation. 106. Okay, numbers don't interest me. It made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Made more money than any other video game adaptation. And Sonic the Hedgehog 2 beat out the original, scoring $331 million at the box office. So that seems a lot. Global box office. Okay, so that's more than just domestic. So it's doing well. And I don't know if that's a big surprise to anybody. The first movie was prior to the pandemic. It was one of those movies that came out prior to the pandemic and did very well, and pandemic hit and destroyed theaters. And now I notice that now we're finally starting to come out of this mentality that, yes, you can go to movie theaters again and you're not going to die, right?
Right.
Now this is this sequel's done very well. I did see it myself in a theater with some crying children, but because I would argue it is a family movie. In fact, maybe those of you looking for alternatives to Disney right now, if you have children or want to take, I think Sonic is fairly family friendly as far as movies go.
Yeah.
And it had Idris Elba as the voice of Knuckles, the Echidna, I think that's how they pronounce it in the movie. And you have furry animals, you have Russian dance-offs in one scene when they're in Siberia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spoil a part in the movie. Tails is like a genius, right? He keeps programming, so he orders. They go to this. I guess this bar in the middle of Siberia because they're trying to find the special what's-a-majig to stop Dr. Robotnik. But anyway, they stop at this bar, right? And everyone speaks Russian, so Tails speaks into the device, translate in Russia, and I think I forgot what he says, but it's something along the lines of to the waitress, like, your breath smells like dog food or something, something like that. And she gives them tongue because he didn't order the beef soup because his translator doesn't do the right thing. And then, suddenly the Russians get angry and they're about to toss them into the fire. And then I think he says something to the thing and it something speaks out. And then the Russian guy, he takes off his shirt and he's this big buff guy and it looks like they're going to have a street fight in the middle of the bar, right? Mm-hmm. And then suddenly it's a dance-off.
Oh God!
That's what they challenge them to. It's funny and it's light family entertainment. Do you like Jim Carrey acting nuts?
Of course. Who doesn't?
You get to see him in this movie acting nuts. He's nuttier in this than he was in the first one, and he's the evil Dr. Robotnik from the video games and he even has the big mustache this time around, and it's good fun. It's good family entertainment actually. So good on Paramount, and. I like to see companies that do good get rewarded, even though there's a lot of things that Paramount has done that I haven't liked. I'm not going to pick on them. When you do good, I'll point it out.
Mm-hmm.
When you do bad, like certain series starring Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It was funny hearing.
I have to wonder if he's like just hurting for money. Has he had like some recent divorces and he's got a lot to pay out or something?
I don't know. It's funny seeing him in Shatner, though. I told you I was watching Shatner in that Senior Moment movie, and he's zipping around even for his age. He's okay. I already did that article. Hold on. All right. This is why you need to have water with you while you're doing this. Okay. Let's get to the actually, I'll read this final article real quick. The actor. I'll keep it quick. Sorry. Bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Entertain the chat. Okay.
No, I
Okay.
see. This is the other thing too. I've never even seen these the Sonic movies.
You don't have to have any knowledge of the game.
But I'm glad that they exist because they do sound like they're catering to the right audience.
Do you know what they are? Do you know what they are? I think in some ways they're replacement for what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies used to be, which are good entertainment for like preteen boys. That's how I look at them. And not that girls can't watch and enjoy the movies too, but I think boys tend to be ignored in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Like typically, let's face facts. Disney, they brought in Star Wars and they brought in Marvel and to appeal to the boys, and then all of a sudden it's all about Ray is the bestest ever and all this other stuff. But Sonic the Hedgehog 2 star Ben Schwartz talks about his big comedy break. He's the voice actor of Sonic the Hedgehog. And Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has become the highest grossing video. They keep saying this in every article, okay. The Blue Hedgehog is voiced by Emmy-winning writer, actor, and comedian Ben Schwartz, who is sharing his road to stardom with CBS News. Schwartz was 22 years old when he started working as a page for The Late Show with David Letterman at the Ed Sullivan Theater. He even pitched jokes for the monologue, becoming a freelance writer. I got 21 jokes on, which is huge, Schwartz said. But that was just his day job. At night, he worked as an intern for the Upright Citizens Brigade, an improv club then located in a basement under a supermarket, charged with tasks like taking out the trash. I was addicted to comedy, Schwartz said, and I loved it so much. During improv shows, he also worked the bar at the back, and I would watch every single show, Schwartz said. That's how I got better at improv. His gift for improvisation helped him land the part of Sonic the Hedgehog in the film about the video game superhero, as well as the new sequel. Schwartz brought his love for improv to the two movies, saying, anytime I would think of a joke, I would pop in there. And I played him like a kid in my head, he added. Schwartz, who was a video game junkie as a child, originally just voiced a short test scene in Sonic, which director Jeff Fowler pitched in studios. But the goal was I did it for free as a favor and then crossed my fingers, waited maybe 8 months, and then I got a call from Jeff Fowler. He said, I've never been so excited. It's the biggest role yet for the 40-year-old actor who gained notice playing a series on insincere characters like Jean-Ralphio Saperstein on Parks and Recreation. He also played Spin Doctor Clyde Oberhold on the John Cheadle comedy House of Lies and fast-talking media manager F. Tony Scarapuducci in the Steve Carell show Space Force. I love to play the arrogant idiot, Schwartz said. I love to play the idiot who has no idea he's not nailing it. Schwartz said he does not know why he did those characters so well. And then I also love to give those characters hearts so you feel bad for them when they fail a little bit too, he says. He got into sing and dance in the murder mystery series The After Party, which starred in a drama called Standing Up, Falling Down with Billy Crystal, a personal idol of his. Schwartz just finished filming Renfield, a new Dracula film where he plays a tattooed bad guy. He filmed scene with Nicolas Cage as Dracula. I want to know more about that movie, don't you?
Yeah, right?
That might be better than anything Universal's coming out with. It's a dream come true, he said. So what I like about this article is it shows a actor who worked his way up. I mean, he did a lot of the grunt jobs, right, to get where he is, but he didn't quit, and he strikes me as one of these character actors you've seen in a lot of shows in the bit parts, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting from that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but but he started out doing a lot of improv, so good for him. I wish him the best. And let me see. Improv is still his first love. I love the idea of coming in with nothing. When you come to one of my shows, people in the audience get a show that night that will never be the same. That will never be another show like it because it's all made up. But I love the idea of building something right there and it disappearing, and we all just have like a moment together. I love making people laugh very much. Okay, so good on him. And improv is a hard art, right? I mean,
it really is. And it takes a great deal of practice. But apparently it's not something you're allowed to do in Hollywood anymore. Ask Frank Langella.
Yeah. Ben's role as Jean Ralphio from Parks and Recreation is his defining role. Okay. Did you used to watch Parks and Recreation?
I did not know.
Okay, it's by the people that made The Office. It was as opposed to being about people working for a corporate office, it was about people who worked for county government. So it's kind of making fun of it that way. I think you'd get a kick out of it if you ever saw it. But let's see. In fact, Aubrey Plaza, that was one of the shows that got her, that kind of gave her a big break.
Parks and Rec?
Yeah. She was a regular on there. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of maybe comedians that aren't having such a good time as of late, did you like that segue?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. So Dave Chappelle provides new details on attack at secret stand-up show joined by Chris Rock on stage. So here we go. 2 nights after a man attacked him on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, Dave Chappelle addressed the incident in a secret comedy show in Los Angeles on Thursday. The comedian performed at the Comedy Store in the club's 70-seat belly room, although Chappelle's appearance was a last-minute addition, preempting the usual Crack 'em Up Thursdays lineup for up-and-coming comics. Rumors began to circulate Thursday night prior to the show, and eager fans paid $160 for a ticket to see the secret show with an unnamed star comedian. Among the intimate crowd was a host of celebrities, including Kim Kardashian, Sean Diddy Combs, rapper Yazin Bey, and comedian Jeff Ross, who was part of the lineup for Chappelle's Tuesday Night Hollywood Bowl special. Michelle Wolf, who was also at the Tuesday night show, opened for Chappelle. 10 minutes into Chappelle's set, Chris Rock, who was at Tuesday night's show, and of course was slapped by Will Smith on stage at the 2022 Oscars, joined him on stage. Dressed in a baggy tank top and smoking his favorite cigarettes, American Spirits, Chappelle took the stage to a hero's welcome from the small crowd. Chappelle went immediately into the topic of the Tuesday night attack at the Hollywood Bowl, saying he couldn't see the man's face, but that he got a grip of his hair. Chappelle described being embraced immediately after the incident by his son, who told him, "Dad, I love you." Chappelle said it was the strange sight of Jamie Foxx wearing, for some reason, a sheriff's hat that calmed him down.
That would probably make me relax and chuckle a bit. Yeah,
definitely. Hours after the attack, Chappelle's rep said that despite the unfortunate and unsettling nature of what happened, he wouldn't let it overshadow the magic of his Hollywood Bowl sets. Chappelle shouted out the many people who reached out after the incident. "A lot of people love me," it turns out, he said, of a group that included Louis C.K. It was at that point that Chris Rock joined Chappelle on stage, drawing a huge cheer from the crowd. Rock took a stool near Chappelle and remained there for the rest of the performance. It was two of the biggest comedians joking about the headline-making attacks they'd recently experienced, all unfolding in 70-seat annex of the Comedy Store. As such, the moment felt historic.
yeah.
At least you got smacked by someone of repute, Chappelle joked to Rock. "I got smacked by a homeless guy who with leaves in his hair." Rock laughed and responded, "I got smacked by the softest." Oh, something that never rapped. Okay, that ever rapped. Okay. Later, Chappelle described convincing venue security to allow him to. Later, Chappelle described convincing venue security to allow him to enter the room where his alleged assailant, 23-year-old Isaiah Lee, was being held. "I needed to talk to him," Chappelle said. He asked Lee what possibly could have prompted his attack, to which Lee, who Chappelle said appeared to him to be mentally ill, offered a story about his grandmother from Brooklyn who had been forced out of her neighborhood by gentrification. The attack was meant to draw attention to her plight, Chappelle recounted. Eventually, the topics moved beyond the twin attacks to other things in the news: the Johnny Depp Amber Heard libel trial, and the looming threat of Roe versus Wade. But the digressions were brief. It was Chappelle's attack that was the main topic of discussion that evening, and the city where it happened. "I'm in the place where he sat in the car with Biggie Smalls as he died," Chappelle said toward the end of his set, looking over to Combs. "I hate this city." With that, he grabbed his pack of cigarettes and left the stage. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I gotta say, I thought this article would cover it, but it didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I had heard that the district attorney said he wasn't gonna pursue this at all. No charges against this guy. It's like, what the hell? How do you let somebody attack somebody on stage and not press? What the fuck is a district attorney for?
These are. You think this is another plant by a certain international billionaire?
I think this is another example of despite the 14th Amendment, if you have the wrong think, you're not protected under the law.
Yeah, but apparently this guy, he was just a nut in the crowd that just attacked him. I don't even think it was, according to him, it was just...
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Chappelle...
Oh, because the people don't want to prosecute him because they don't like his...
Yeah, Chappelle doesn't...
The fact that he attacks everybody. Yes, okay,
exactly.
So... Yeah.
Chappelle is on the outs, so we're not going to charge this guy. Good. Let them attack the people with wrong think.
Wow. It's just ridiculous. You know... It's funny that Bill Maher made a point.
Okay, thank you, Editor Dread. That's what I was looking. Dropped felony charges, but there is 4 misdemeanor charges. Woo! 4 misdemeanor charges. Whoop-de-doo.
Oh my word!
You can attack somebody and get misdemeanor charges. Yeah, that's freaking ridiculous.
It's funny. Bill Maher has made a point sometimes that he actually likes performing better in red states or even like Florida because he says, in other states he might get the, like if he tells a certain joke that a more leftist crowd doesn't, they'll give him like a look and I don't know if he should have done that. Whereas in a red state, even if he's making fun of the conservatives, they still laugh at him.
Yeah, conservatives can laugh at themselves, and if they don't find it funny or they're offended, they just fuck you, and that's it.
But yeah, it's scary out there for comedians, man. They're not going to want to perform anymore. Seinfeld's talked about this. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's the whole point of comedy is someone is going to be a target when you're doing a comedy sketch. That's the whole point, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. All right. Let's wind this up. What's our last topic of the night?
Sorry, I'm tired too.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap reboot picked up to series by NBC. Some good news, right? Possibly?
Potentially.
Potentially.
We'll see.
Potentially. Unless, Scott Bakula is going to be the villain on the show. And
Actually, I'm a little concerned whether he's going to be involved in it at all.
Well, why wouldn't they use him? Okay, NBC.
No, I'll tell you why. In the best case scenario, they don't use him initially. He should be a special guest towards the end of the first season, or depending on how long it goes later on. It should all be he's the reason that they're doing the Quantum Leap project, trying to bring him out, and they can't find him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you could bring him in. It's kind of like when you would have Leonard Nimoy guest star on Fringe. Like, he wouldn't be in every episode, but he was always an important character that was talked about in the background. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
NBC, traditionally the first broadcast network to present its full lineup at the upfronts again, became the first net to give a series order to a pilot. It went to Quantum Leap, a reboot of the popular 1990s sci-fi drama, which stars Raymond Lee. See the first look photo above. As Deadline reported in the early pilot buzz story this week, Quantum Leap appeared a lock for a series pickup, with Lee potentially poised to become one of the breakout stars of next season. It is NBC's only 22 drama pilot that was not in consideration for the fall schedule. 2 others, Unbroken and Blank Slate, would be evaluated for a launch in November or mid-season. Unbroken is headlined by Scott Bakula, star of the original Quantum Leap, who is not involved in the reboot. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. But he's doing another show for the channel.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. It's... I hear the Quantum Leap pilot will undergo some reshoots and is eyed for the post-voice time slot. They are said to be related to the direction, not casting. In addition to Lee, the cast also includes Caitlin Bassett, Ernie Hudson. Well, that's good. I like Ernie Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
Mason Alexander Park and Nanrisa Lee. The pickup will also feature the first of several this season are projects based on popular IP, something the broadcast network rely more and more on an uphill battle for eyeballs. The Rookie spinoff is a front runner at ABC. CW only has IP-based pilots with Walker Independence. That's a Walker spinoff.
I have no idea.
Supernatural prequel, The Winchesters. No.
Oh, God.
No.
Oh, God.
No. That show wouldn't go off the air, and now they're doing a prequel. No. I'm sorry. It'll be fine. And Gotham Knights, which I think is another Batman show without Batman, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Written and executive produced by Stephen Lillian and Brian Winbrand, and executive produced by Martin Garrow, as well as Quantum Leap. Okay, the blah 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 blah. The follow-up series is set in present day. It's been 30 years since Dr. Sam Beckett stepped in the Quantum Leap Accelerator and vanished. Now, a new team has been assembled to restart the project in the hopes of understanding the mysteries behind the machine and the man who created it. Okay, well, that doesn't sound bad. And with Scott Bakula working on another show on the network, he could just walk across the lot and maybe do a guest stint on this, right?
Yeah,
theoretically, right?
I hope, and that's really all I would expect,
Yeah. So as long as they're respectful to the original show and maybe even have him come back, for a guest appearance, or maybe he's part of the mystery now, that might be good for fans of the original show. I mean, the cast might be all right, so we'll see. I mean, you're like Ernie Hudson, right?
I absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed. He's not involved though, but he also works for the network, so he could be involved. So we'll see. I don't know. It's possible he had already contracted this other show, and that's why he's not involved. And I don't know. And again, they could have him still guest star, like I said, they'd Leonard Nimoy would guest star on Fringe. He wasn't in every episode, but he would. It was like a big surprise when he'd pop in, right? As William Bell, right? I think William Bell was his name
on Fringe. Yeah,
it was fascinating when the timeline got screwed up, and then in the new timeline, William Bell was a villain.
Yeah,
remember that? That was the big surprise because he was a good guy in the original timeline, right? And then things shifted.
Exactly.
It was those men from the future. They kept screwing everything up. But all right. But so are you going to maybe give the new Quantum Leap show a chance? Maybe you could do a take on it when it comes on. What do you think? It's on NBC.
It's something to think about. I've for the most part gotten to the point where most things I don't want to invest in until I hear how they're doing from someone else, and then I go, okay, if they like it, it's probably okay, so I'll go check it out.
We'll see. I mean, at some point, these channels have to get the message, right?
One hopes before they go broke, before they go the way of Netflix, with Disney close behind.
I haven't paid too much attention to NBC. I think the last show I watched on there was Manifest, which had its own problems, but it was one of these Lost style series. Mm-hmm. CBS has some problems.
They kind of all do.
ABC, I haven't watched anything on ABC. That's the problem with all the streaming stuff. You're wondering what's being made for network and what's now being made exclusively for streaming. Apparently, NBC is still treating this as a network show, so you'll be able to watch it, right?
Right.
Okay. But that's it for tonight. What are you doing this week?
Well,
Tuesday.
Mostly the same as you, really. Tuesday night will be over
on Match 6 channel.
Yes. We will be talking about Gravity Falls, a show that many people had been recommending to me for a long time, and it was on my list. I had nothing against it, but then when Matchstick pinned me down and said, I want to do a show about it, will you watch it? I'm like, okay, well, I can't say no again. I'm going to use this as my opportunity. Watched it with Netter, and we got to the end of the first season. She's like, is that the end of the series? I'm like, no, there's at least one more season. She's like, oh, okay. She wants to see the second season. So we'll talk about the first season on Tuesday.
I'm still getting through it. I'm almost done. Yeah. Wednesday, I'll be on Soundtracks with Birdman. Hopefully we will do in Commando, and we may have a special guest on that night because it's Arnold month. And then Friday, what are we doing? Have you decided yet?
Friday, I haven't decided. I got some ideas, but I just want to see first if I got a special guest bartender lined up. If not,
okay,
you'll be the first to know. I'll let you know before anyone else. But
yeah. Gravity Falls discussion,
and that brings us back to Saturday, which is a rewatch on Netter's network. We will be watching Black Cauldron, the Disney unsung classic.
I did that on Birdman's Birdman's channel, not travel, a while back. But I mean, I'll try to tune in. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if I can. Who knows? Maybe I'll sneak in if possible. We'll see. I can't promise, but that'd be what I'd like to do with you guys. But I can't promise anything, but if I can, I'll hit you up before the stream. Okay,
Sounds good.
provided I'm welcome. But yeah, I can't promise anything. But we have Tuesday Gravity Falls. Yeah, Matt said go ahead and post a link to your channel in the chat if you want. Go right ahead. I think you have a blue wrench. Okay. I'm trying to think though, and then that brings us back to Sunday, which is Geeky Geezers. And I think one thing I am going to try to do, I want to dig into this Netflix situation because apparently they are not doing so hot. And I'm sure more news about that's going to unfold this week. So we're going to talk a bit about that. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. Okay. Can't not a mod. I'm sorry you're not a mod. I'll have to fix that. Okay. I'll do that some other time.
Yeah, because he's afraid he's going to time you out.
Actually, hold on a second. Blah, blah, blah. Give me a minute. Am I a mod on my own channel? Can I post it in StreamYard? Can I post it in StreamYard?
You can't do it in StreamYard. You have to go into...
for the love of Mike.
I know. That's where you went wrong last time, trying to do stuff in StreamYard.
And then I kicked deleted scenes out. Yes.
And
okay.
I swear to you, I right after the thing, I sent him the message you wanted me to, and I'm like,
I was
really sorry. And
horrified.
he's like, and he said that I was absolutely right. It's like I had no idea I was gone by that time. And he said, and I don't know if I passed this on to you. He said not to worry about it. He's done the same thing. And I said to him, yeah, I know I've done the same thing on Stephanie Janicek's channel, but I wasn't going to tell Age of Boomer that. I was having too much fun razzing him about it.
Okay. All right. And hold on. And we'll take care of deleted scenes as well while I'm in here.
As long as he's there, give him the...
There we go.
He's even saying, yeah, that was so funny.
Anyway, thank you everyone for showing up tonight. Appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that like button and bell for notifications. And I am trying to do more clip videos during the week, so you should check those out as well if you want to get a highlight of the stream. And we'll be around next week.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.